Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Tone Talk with Mark Uzansky and Dave Friedman. We've got a great guest tonight, Brett Papa. How you doing, Brett?
Good, yourselves?
Doing good, man. Cheers.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm pumped. It's good to be here.
Cool. Cool. Dave, what's going on with you? You done ordering dinner?
Uh, no, but I have the preliminary order in, ready to go.
It's in the cart.
It's in the cart.
Gotta love that
Wife
now.
text me what she wants.
Oh man. So Brett, man, thanks for coming
Yes.
on. We have a mutual
Thanks for
friend,
having me.
BV. I want to thank BV for
Yeah.
hooking us
Right,
up.
right.
I keep saying his name
Totally.
wrong. I was saying Bev, but now it's BV.
I know, that's what I thought it was too.
But he corrected me today. He's like BV in all capital letters. So I was like, all right.
Well, it makes sense, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it's spelled, so.
Yeah. Just, I was trying to make it fancier. So,
Exactly. That's totally right.
yeah. But thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. I'm pumped. It's awesome.
Yeah, I've been watching your.
You guys got some good lineups too, man. I was talking to Rhett about it, and he was, talking about a bunch of the guests. I'm like, oh my god, so I of course went and started checking it all out and stuff. And I was just like, man, this is freaking awesome, And it's so cool now, especially that everybody can do stuff like this, So you can get players from all over the world, and
Yeah,
it's great, man.
we were doing
Yeah,
it before everybody was home, stuck in their
Yeah,
house.
exactly. Ahead of the trend, which is good.
Exactly. But yeah, now everybody seems to have a show these days doing
For sure.
going live and
Yeah, right.
yeah.
What else can you do?
That's true, right? It's true.
I had to order some streaming equipment, and I went to like B&H to get something like a video camera switcher, right? Because I'm going to start doing bands and stuff. And I got a note back, and then the guy called me, and I'm like, yeah, so when do you think this thing's going to be in? He's like, well, you're about number 2,600 on the list. I was just like, what?
Like, wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, he was serious. And so this was 8 weeks ago, and I think the thing just now got here at my house today.
What did you buy?
Well, I ended up buying two things. Like, when this whole thing hit, it's funny because I'd been talking about doing a stream thing right before this thing happened anyways. But I, of course, waited. And so I had to, first you get by the little box, right? The little box that converts the camera signal. And I had to pay like 3 times what those are worth because they only had one left. And then I got this, Roland makes a killer switcher that you can plug 8 cameras into.
Oh,
And
really?
then it's cool. And then what's really cool about it as well is for a guy like myself, you can get an optional Boss foot switch, and the foot switch will change the camera angles for you. So me, if I'm like, want a talking head shot and then I want to cut to my guitar shot, I just step on a foot switch and it does everything for me. So I don't have to
That's
edit.
cool.
Yeah. So, and they're super into bands so that you can tempo sync. And so the camera switcher, if you don't have somebody to man it, will switch on the beat in different time increments, So they're starting
cool.
to get really hip on all that kind of stuff,
That's
and
awesome.
now especially. Yeah, totally. So
Yeah, now everyone has things.
Yeah.
I'm vast majority of my time I'm spent working at home now.
yeah,
So I set up a whole workshop and a bench and a desk and
like the
the
old
whole
days.
9 yards. I actually have guitars at my house, which I normally
No way.
didn't ever do normally.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
It's changed everything. It's changed
Yeah.
everything.
Changed everything.
I think in a lot of ways it'll be cool though because obviously the concert thing sucks, but there's a lot of shows that I would want to go to, and now that people are heading in the direction of they'll be streaming more shows. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, I can't spend the $800 to go get a Stones ticket,
Right.
but they're streaming for $10, and
No, I think so too. And my friend that works for me, does the baked potato a lot. He
Right.
had a normal night there.
yeah,
Jamie. And now there's Jamie Kime, Jamie.
yeah.
don't you? Yeah.
Freaking terrifying guitar player.
He really good. There's baked potatoes now starting to stream shows.
Oh,
Oh,
seriously?
really? That would be awesome.
So now for me thinking about that, the baked potato makes a lot of sense
Oh,
to
for
stream
sure.
shows and sell them
Yeah.
online.
Totally.
maybe a reduced rate, but
Right.
you could watch a world-class musician. They just started this, so it's
Yeah.
kind of in its infancy, but they should keep doing it forever, even when the club.
Yeah.
Well, now the club's going to open back up, but
Right. Well, I mean, and especially the baked potato is a perfect example because you'd only fit like 12 people in there anyway. So like,
correct. Yeah, I mean,
know.
I think on a good day you can fit. Well, believe it or not, they say you can fit like 100, but
yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know where.
Yeah, but I mean, just okay. So if you sub the cost of the ticket at the door, you know what I mean? Like, you can infinitely increase your audience
my
capacity.
God.
You know what I mean? And if they charge $5 or $10,
I mean, like if you get Michael Landau playing there one night,
Totally.
you get people from all over the entire
Luke
world.
Cather.
Yeah. You'll get 10,000 people that want to see that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially if they obviously they market it right. But I mean, not only that, if they allow you to keep their performance too, would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean that makes so much sense.
Totally.
Streaming now to do that.
And so everyone's going to do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm starting to see it. Rhett Scholl.
Empty bars with.
I was just talking.
Well, I mean, it's that or go out of business, right? I mean, and I just, I'm curious how quickly people will go back to shows. I mean, like I don't mind it. I'd go back to a show, but it'll be interesting. Nashville's just kind of opening back up too, and so like Third and Lindsley and all these kind of places like what the baked potato would be. Are starting to like, okay, maybe we'll do a show in 3 weeks, Yeah. Which is cool. I mean, especially in summertime. All these guys in town, it's weird. Like at the drop of the hat, you think about this whole town is music, and all of a sudden nobody had a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you think, unfortunately all the musicians in Nashville doing these $50 gigs.
Right.
But then they're doing like 5 a day.
Yeah.
Like running around like a madman doing 5 a day down to zero.
Yeah,
which is just
zero.
Nuts.
It's horrible.
Yeah,
I love the idea about Rhett and his channel that he's going to start doing live streaming on his channel. I was talking to a friend of mine about that, and that's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
It's awesome. Rhett and I mean, we must have the exact same mind because like we'll talk to each other and we're like, yes, I wanted to do that too. I mean, he's just like there's a lot of people that do YouTube for just having like their own kind of channel or whatever. And then there's a few people out there that really are like forward thinking, like, where is this, we have this thing that we've never been able to have, all you need is a camera and to hook it up and you have a worldwide audience. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting to see people that think a little bit ahead like that. I mean, there's really that weird spot the music industry's in too. And it's like, if you figure out that whole game, it's a completely different world, because suddenly, like we're talking, ticket sales don't matter as much for a little band. You know what I mean? Maybe they can't fill Madison Square Garden on a night, but they can get just as many people because they have a worldwide audience now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many different ways to do it. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Rent a rehearsal room for an evening and do a live broadcast.
Yeah. I mean, just get a couple lights and like the cameras are so freaking good now that it makes it look like a concert anyways,
Right, and the recording gear is great too.
To be honest, you could film a live video on an iPhone 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the video is incredible looking.
Totally.
And it sounds fine.
Yeah.
It's really, as long as it's mixed well in the room, everything sounds fine.
No.
Sounds as good as any concert footage you'd see.
Right, or any bootleg, at least, or any, people post so many videos online anyways that it's like, you've gotten used to how that sounds too. So people are like, sure. I mean, the fact that it's so clear now, like I wish they had this back when I was learning guitar. Now you can just like go to the video and see the guy doing it, It's like, that would have been helpful.
Well, speaking of videos like that, you helped me out on several occasions on your channel.
Awesome.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm sure I've gone to, I remember definitely when I was starting out looking at your channel, or at least, over the past several. So when did you start your channel, by the way? It's been a while, right?
I think it was, I started doing, my buddy Marty got me into it, I think in around 2012 or 2011, somewhere around there.
Oh, okay.
He'd been doing it for about a year and a half before I actually he's like, come down and shoot a video. And so I kind of started dipping my toe in the water just a little bit to see how it was. That was back when I was working with Fred. So I was kind of like in that place where I'm like, what am I going to do? And he's like, well, there is this thing called YouTube. And I remember asking him one day, I'm like, bro, how's the YouTube thing going? And he just started laughing on the phone. And I'm like, okay, there's something to this thing, you know? And especially in that timing, right? There was barely anybody doing it. So we're all kind of fortunate that way that we had a good head start too, you know?
Yeah, was that Marty Schwartz?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so Marty and I, we grew up together. I mean, we rode the bus together in 7th grade. And
oh, really?
Yeah, so.
Well, that's cool.
We go way back. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the first people. Definitely.
Yeah, he really was. Definitely the first one to capitalize on making it into a business for sure. I mean, like, it was perfect timing. I mean, it's that one way. I mean, people could still do the exact same thing now, you know, but you just have to be more creative about how you do it. You know, you have to definitely have like either a really good personality or some kind of a shtick or some kind of a niche audience or whatever that really you can focus in on, because there's just so many people out there doing it now, you know, and so many people are doing it well, you know, so that's the tougher thing.
Yeah. You know, Pete Thorne was talking with me about this the other day. It's like the residual sort of income that you get starts to build up over time. Like, you know, maybe you're an affiliate of someone and you're getting money from them. You're selling a little bit of merch. You're getting money from that. You're getting money from your videos if they have good views and you're established. You're getting a little bit of this and that and that and that. And before you know it, it's like a sizable amount of money.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really can be real, you know. Well, especially with real. Yeah, especially with somebody like Pete or somebody that has a little bit more opportunistic kind of, you know, tendencies to them. It's like, well, you know, with Pete, he's the freaking demo king, you know, and that's like the perfect thing for him. You know what I mean? It's like he's got that personality, he actually has street credibility, you know, from touring and doing all that stuff, and, you know, playing on a number of gigs, so knowing a lot about gear, and like he's a perfect example, you know, of what you can do, you know, or, you know, even me, like, you know, yes, you can make, you know, some of my friends make a staggering amount of money on the revenue side of YouTube and the advertising, but, you know, just the thinking of it's free advertising for your own brand, whatever you are, you know, and everybody in the world can see it, you know, so it's an incredible thing. I mean, I'm sure you see it too, Dave, with people, you know, showing your amps or whatever. It's like all of a sudden all these people like, oh wow, yeah, I wondered how that's, you know, I mean, it's like it's a really
sure. I mean, we released a video today, and
great video, by the way.
Oh my God, it's barely been out. It's been out hours, not you know, not days,
right?
And it's climbing quick.
Michael Nielsen.
What'd you guys do?
Michael Nielsen did a video for the Jakey Lee amp.
Oh, dude, that amp is so freaking good.
If anyone out there watching, if you haven't seen the video yet, go find it.
Yeah, Mike, big hairy guitars.
It's a killer. He did a killer job.
Oh, his videos are great, man.
Yeah,
so good.
This time we really, he was sending me audio samples.
Right.
Is this the right tone? Is this the right thing? Is this it? Do you like this? Could it be brighter? Is it too bright?
That's so funny, because I actually wondered if while I was watching the video, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if he ran this by Dave before he posted it. So,
he totally did.
It's just cool, man.
That's awesome. Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that it was a good representation of how the amp sounds.
It is. It sounds great.
And it is pretty much across the board on even listening to it on a phone, it sounds good.
Right.
He's got a great ear.
Worst possible way to listen to it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it translates between, you know, my studio monitors to the iPad, to the phone, to the computer, you know, then it's like, okay, well, this is good.
Yeah, we're onto something. It's tough to beat that NAMM rig you guys have.
Yeah,
it's
you know,
pretty good tester.
So Michael did that, and then I was in the video also. We did a little video.
Nice.
We did a video chat kind of thing since COVID.
Yeah, right.
COVID style video. And you know, and then we had a little moment where Jake was in the video too, playing a little thing out of another video we had done.
Right. What's the backstory with the amp? Like, I mean, I played it, but I just, you know, everybody was there at NAMM, so What's the kind
What's
of thinking
the
behind that?
backstory?
Yeah, no, like what is it? Like there's channel 1, channel 2, you know, like
Okay,
what's
so
the
it's basically a
circuit-wise?
2-channel amp, but the second
Uh-huh.
channel has 2 different modes. One's a lower
Okay.
gain mode and a higher gain mode.
Right.
First channel is more like the small box plexi channel and or BE100 deluxe plexi channel. Same basic channel. Because he uses that channel and turns it on 10.
Yeah, that's how I run mine here too.
All the way on 10, all the way up.
Right. It sounds
because
so
then
good, though.
then it becomes basically, other than that there's a resonance circuit like in your small box buried in the amp, it basically becomes a plexi at that point.
Yeah. I'll never be able to go back. I mean, obviously I don't run it through a cab here. I ran it through an aux, but yeah, I love the way it sounded before and was just using the master. But man, when I got here and I turned it on to 10, I was like, oh my God. Because it just it gets all that.
Well, at that point, it's a non-master volume amp.
Right, totally. So, it's just like,
of course it sounds good,
Yeah.
So then the second channel is, in one mode, it's sort of a highly, in the lower gain mode, it's sort of a highly idealized JSIM 800.
Okay.
Meaning not exactly, but a few components different. My idea of a highly idealized.
Yeah.
And then the high gain mode is a hopped up 800 sort of. So it has that brightness and that cut and clarity that everyone was wanting.
Yeah.
So
so good, man. Yeah. Love that thing. You guys had a killer.
Ripping. The video's great.
Well, and you guys at NAMM too, you had this telly that was normal telly bridge and then a P90 in the front, and I plugged that into the. I was just like, oh my God, this freaking tone is just the guitar too was just sick. It was so good, and I wanted that guitar so bad. I'm like, Rob, do not let this guitar go, because I asked him about the amp, and he's like, well, the amps are already gone, and I was like, well. That sucks. But are you guys going to go back into like production mode of them, or?
I don't know. I don't know yet. That's up in the air. Right now we have a red signed limited run of amps. Everyone is signed by him. His own little hand, personally.
Right.
In fact, a lot of the signatures are different.
Depending on the time of day?
Well, one day he decided to sign him big, and other days he decided to sign him small. So, so there's some variance in the signatures, which is cool. I think that's cool.
Yeah. That'll be on the big one.
I got a small one. Great.
Yeah. The big signature ones sound better, man. That'll be a chat form thing.
So I'm just trying to test them up right now, and
right. Do you go down to everybody do it?
Yeah. Well, I was doing that, and then we had a little COVID scare down there, so we closed for 10 days.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But everyone's okay, so it's fine.
Well, that's good.
Thankfully, yeah.
And we're back up and going. So
yeah.
I'll be going down there Monday to test a bunch of shit.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I thought they were gone. So
masked with disinfectant spray.
It's oxygen.
No, yeah, that's what I need, an oxygen mask. That'd be a good idea.
Exactly, right? Better air quality anyways.
Yeah, just put that oxygen mask right in your face. I can breathe now, unlike the regular masks.
Right, exactly.
That's so true. By the way, Robert Baker's in the chat. What's up, Robert?
Oh,
talk about a tone sleuth. That guy is so freaking awesome, man.
And
man, check out this guitar I got, and this other guitar
I
got.
And he just said he stopped though. He just said he stopped with the new telly.
I don't believe anyone stopped ever
for today. Yeah, exactly.
I was looking at online today. I had. Are you hip to Eastman guitars, right? They make all those vintage repros of all those old guitars,
I was looking at
and
them
they're
too.
cheap.
I was looking at them also.
So I saw Kurt Cobain's Univox guitar that they've repro'd.
Oh,
the
come
one
on.
they used in like heart-shaped box and all this stuff, and I'm looking at it going, oh man, that's cool. Kind of want it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
Someone
problem.
buy it for me and send it to me, will you?
Exactly, a little for your birthday. That's the tough thing with computers, man. Everything's so readily available. Like you don't have to get in your car and go anywhere anymore. It's
then I showed Michael Nielsen, and because we were chatting, and I go, yeah, is it wrong that I want this guitar? Because this is cool. He didn't really know much about Eastman, and I go, don't look at the website. Don't look at the website, because the guitars are cheap enough where you're like, oh yeah, I think I could get one of those.
Right. Is there a package price?
Like, oh, I like this Malcolm looking one.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, that's crazy. I wonder. So where are they from though? Like I've heard the brand, but like what's the
Eastman guitars are from overseas, but what they do is they kind of painstakingly go out and old guitars that don't exist anymore. They go and funky guitars mostly, airlines and different things like. They go out and find one, and then they replicate it.
No way.
And they do a pretty good job, and it's a pretty good quality guitar.
Yeah.
And for the average prices of their guitars are, $600 to $1,000.
Oh, I was looking at a different brand. What was the brand that Pete Stroud was talking about?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, okay, that's the brand I was looking at.
But Eastman, Eastman is,
overseas.
It is what it is, but it's
it doesn't mean
some
it's bad.
Cool stuff. There's some cool like resonator kind of guitars with a P90 in the neck and some weird stuff that would be awesome for slide or
totally.
There's some
especially if you tour.
Go look at the website.
You could get some killer stuff and not have to worry about your stuff on the road too, man.
Yeah, and those are the weird funky guitars, So if you're a fan of airlines.
Plenty of hipsters out there.
Yeah.
Hey,
but those are like cool a thing guitars. Here. Everyone's like pawn shop guitars and freaking.
I still lust after getting like a Dan Electro.
Oh, they're so freaking
like a 59 Dan Electro.
Are we gonna have Steve on at some point in time?
What's that?
Mark?
What's that?
Steve from Events?
Yeah, we need to have him on. Yeah,
he said he was going to do it. It was just like we were trying to schedule.
Yeah, I just have to get back to him. Okay, I'll get back to him. I forgot, to be honest with you.
You should do that. Because there you go.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, we have a super chat from Alexander Grothberg. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hey, guys, awesome show. Would you recommend a carbon copy or an Echoplex? And I assume you mean the MXR Echoplex?
Echoplex. MXR Echoplex pedal is awesome.
Really good.
Really good.
It's funny you're saying that. I just did a video with this guy in town, Rob McNally. He's a session guy here. And we literally had an old Marshall and an Echoplex, and he had one of those pedals too. And he's like, dude, it's like this freaking pedal is so good. He's like, if I had to cart my stuff, which would I take? I would take this pedal for sure because it's close enough to where it's like it freaking sounds amazing. It's
really close, and it works really well in front of non-mass, like cranked amps,
exactly.
like an Echoplex does. So I mean, like, if all these guys that are wanting to do that old Eddie thing, which was an Echoplex in front of an amp, that pedal does it really well. I just did a rig with one on it, and it was like,
exactly. Well, and it's a trick. The Eddie thing's funny because now that there's all the isolated tracks, I didn't realize. You hear it, but in the context of a band, sometimes the delay disappears. And you hear those isolated tracks, and I was like, wow, he had that thing freaking cranked on some of those, Atomic Punk and all those songs where it's like, wow, you realize what a profound effect it was to the sound.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like in front of a non-master volume amp cranked on 10. Well, totally. That delay is going to come back pretty strong anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But in all the right ways.
That little pedal is really good, man.
Yeah, and they're not that expensive either.
Go buy the MXR Echoplex if you want that kind of thing. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's cool. Actually, I was I was leaning more towards the carbon copy. I haven't tried the Echoplex, so
Really?
Oh
yeah.
no, Mark, you got to get the little Echo
yeah.
Plex.
Okay.
And that's killer.
Cool.
MXR's been making some freaking great stuff lately, man. They
And
have
you
a
can
lot
tap
of-
tempo it. It's got a little box that you can plug into it and tap tempo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That is, I did not know that. That's even better,
Yeah.
right?
It makes it
What's
much
better
more
than a
useful.
tap tempo Echoplex?
Yeah.
By the way,
Technology, gotta love it.
Robert Baker says, "I'm done until the next one," with a smiley.
Uh huh.
I'm done.
And he's
Hey
got
Robert,
some
go
great guitars.
go to go to Eastwood Guitar.
Right.
Go
Just
take a
guitar
look.
pimping. Oh, that's awesome.
and he says you need a Cali, Brett.
Okay, yeah. You know what I need is I need his BE50 Deluxe, man. He freaking makes that thing sound so good. It's just like, God, how
Yeah.
do you get that tone? It's amazing.
Yep. And that new telly sounds great, Robert. Use it well, man.
Look,
Oh, did he get a telly too? Oh, what was it? I
he's
saw
got
the
all of
picture.
them.
Whatever.
Almost.
Well, that telly you got is sweet. I mean, that's like a 60s telly or something, I think, if I remember. I can't remember.
Oh.
I love Davis Phillips commented. He goes, first Dave has Michael Nielsen do a demo of the JEL amp. Now he starts talking about Kurt Cobain Univox reproductions. This
Right.
is so unfair.
Exactly.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, man. I grew up in the 80s, right?
Right.
But I was not at first, but a little bit after, I was really into what was going on in the 90s too.
Right. Yeah.
I never stayed with one genre.
Sure.
You know, I didn't get stuck in one sort of era.
Right.
And man, I mean Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, and Nirvana, that's epic.
Oh, and
Soundgarden, epic. Alice in Chains, epic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know,
Totally.
amazing.
Don't
There's a
Temple
lot
Pilots.
of amazing bands out of that era.
Mother
too.
Love Bone.
Oh man, there's tons
They were
of
awesome
great.
too.
I mean, even Pearl Jam, and even all the, you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when they first came out, when you first heard it
Oh yeah.
back
It's
in
amazing.
you know 1990 or whatever, you were like, what the heck is this? You know, I remember hearing Eddie Vedder and going, oh, his voice is so weird.
And then you couldn't escape it, no matter how hard you tried.
And every band wanted
But
to be
then-
that sound, like Creed and
Then
everything.
I learned to really appreciate it. It
Yeah.
had it was like it was very organic and real. So
Totally. Well, and
And
they
I
moved away
love
from
that
so
about
much flash and concentrated on songwriting. You know, a lot of the songwriting was really freaking good.
Song-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melody,
Yeah.
songwriting. Yep.
Yeah.
Even cool tones. It's cool stuff.
oh yeah.
Totally.
So
Totally.
I'm as much as I like a cool Marshall, you know, 80s sounding rock guitar, I also
Right.
equally like a broken, fucked up fuzz tone.
Oh, for sure. Fuzz
So-
is such a big thing out here, and you realize why. It's like, man, there's just so many cool sounds to get out of them too. I
That's-
mean,
That is the.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, no.
No, but that's.
No, but I mean, even rolling volumes down, or I mean, like it's so fun to play. You know, I was late to the Fuzz game, but they're just,
Me too.
yeah, they're amazing. You know, your guys' Fuzz is freaking great, dude. That
Oh yeah.
Fuzz Fiend, I love that pedal. And it was just flexible. You know what? Really good fuzzes to me, you can get the splattery thing, but they also can kind of be like almost like a fuzz distortion and tight too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And
that does that really
pedal does that so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I didn't realize that rolling back the volume on a fuzz pedal and getting that real great clean.
Oh yeah.
You know, like that. I was that's something that I wasn't tuned into until
Yeah.
many years later. You know, like to me, it was just like, oh, you get a fuzz and you turn it all the way up, and you're like, oh, it gets, and I was like,
Right.
it just gets so compressed, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that, you know, but now I get it. I totally get it.
I mean, that's Hendrix 101, you know, the like Axis or Bold as Love or whatever, you know. You can hear him in the song like crank his volume up and then it's all super splattery fuzz, you know. But that beginning tone is just so freaking good, and it's like without the fuzz, it doesn't sound the same.
Yeah, especially with a fuzz face type circuit.
Yeah.
It's, with the guitar straight in, I mean, like full up is that splattery, liquidy, mushy,
Yeah.
fun, muddy sounding coolness. Then you roll the volume knob back just a little bit, and all of a sudden that tightens up.
So good.
And it's totally different.
Yep. No, they're amazing. And now it's cool because, there's so many different takes on the fuzz, too. There's so many good companies doing them well now. So, it takes out all the, problems with the older ones, They actually work.
Some of my favorite fuzzes are by this company, Death by Audio.
Interesting. Where
Death
are they
by
at?
Audio makes unbelievably cool fuzzes.
Huh.
All of them.
Really?
Yeah. Uh-oh. Check out Death by Audio. There's one called Fuzz War.
Okay.
That one's super cool. There's
You're like a great salesman, dude.
The Apocalypse Fuzz. Yeah, right. I'm a good salesman, right?
Yeah,
I guess I'm shouting out. I'm shouting out to all the brands that I like.
Right.
That's awesome.
The Apocalypse Fuzz. That's really fucking amazing.
What is that one supposed to be? What's a?
I don't think they're supposed to be necessarily anything on all these fuzzes. So they're supposed to be their own thing, but they have all their own unique, interesting qualities about them. So, anything from any fuzz from Death by Audio is really cool. Always.
All right. I'll have to write that one down.
Apocalypse, super cool.
Thanks, Dave. Spending all my money now.
I'm drawing a blank on that fuzz pedal, that the plasma pedal.
Huh?
Plasma drive thing, yeah. Or the Jack White version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, seriously?
There's a Jack White version of the plasma pedal that they put out. And Pete was doing a demo of it, and he called me in here. He goes, "You got to hear this thing."
Is it the same? Who makes that one?
Whoever makes the plasma drive. I don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I totally.
Yeah,
forget.
it's. Man, the Jack White one was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. He called me in the room, and I'm listening to it, and I go, oh, that's so broken. I love it.
Yeah. Pete's so good at that stuff too, man. He's so good at copying that sound of, what it's supposed to be. It's awesome watching his demos. He's freaking amazing.
It's is that Game Changer Audio?
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that at NAMM. I was gonna get it, and then I never made it back to their booth. So I was like, shit.
Get the Jack White one. That's amazing. Look at Pete's video. He does a killer video of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the videos that sold me on it.
I know. Friends of mine used the plasma coil pedal, but the original one, and they use it on bass.
Interesting. That'd be cool.
It gets this kind of fuzzed out synthy style bass. Almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I didn't realize how many people did that, And then you hear all the, like I was saying, the ISO tracks and stuff, and you realize oh my God, that's such a part of the overall sound. I think so many people assume it's guitar, all the time.
No.
And the fuzz bass thing or distorted bass in general, it's just so freaking great.
Yeah, you know what?
That.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, Geezer Butler, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I was listening to Paranoid was on the radio today, and I was just like, God, that still sounds so good,
I watched
massive back in the day.
I watched with his band that he has with Steve Stevens.
Right.
I mean, I watched them in rehearsal, and and to say that there's so much weight behind his bass playing. When you even just stand there and listen to him, it's so taking up so much space and so much weight.
Yeah.
It's almost like a guitar player just can float around and
just hang out.
And because he's just laying down such a heavy, solid bass.
Mm-hmm.
Such a driving bass player, man. He's freaking great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that stuff he did, 10 or 15 years ago with Ozzy, when they all get out and they're playing some of the old classics. It's just God, it's weird. You hear four guys make that much racket, sure, there's good bands today, but that just power and explosiveness doesn't seem to be as round as much. I don't know. I'm sure there's metal guys that do it, but
no, maybe not.
Yeah, but Sabbath, man, the songs are so good, man. Love that.
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
Sorry about the
absolutely.
loud laugh, everybody.
I saw them in the last tour. That was great.
No way. How was that?
Oh, it's fuck. Yeah, I saw him twice.
Oh,
No, wait. No, I'm sorry. I saw him once.
yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, once is enough.
I saw him once, and it was at the sports arena.
Okay.
So the old sports arena. So
Right.
the beautiful thing about that was you walk into this old arena that's not really used anymore. In fact, I think they might have torn it down now,
Right.
or they were going to. Not really used much. You know, whatever, 12,000 people or whatever the arena holds. And it just reminded me of every concert when I was a kid.
Right.
Going in the 80s in Detroit, every concert as a kid, you walked in and there was the right stench of hot dogs, mold,
Right.
and
Exactly.
and pot.
Right.
Yep.
So you had this whole thing, and you started into flashbacks to when you were a kid. And the
Right.
funny thing was, we went to our seats. We had great seats. We had floor seats that were, I don't know, something like 15 rows back or something, 20 rows back.
Nice.
Floor seats, great seats. And we're in the row. There's people fighting, getting in fights, getting thrown out,
Just
fist
like the old
fights,
days.
Right, I was gonna say.
There, smell of pot.
Yeah,
Then
totally.
my partner, who is a former Rob,
Yeah.
who's a former cops with me, and these guys are like beating on this girl, like literally beating on this girl and try to throw her out of the row behind. He goes, wait, what are you guys doing? Why are you beating on this girl? And they go, she pissed on my leg.
Oh, dude.
Oh, and then he goes, okay, carry on.
Right. That's pretty Sabbath. That's freaking awesome. I know. I can just see Rob doing that too. Like, I'm gonna have to do something now.
It's just like, carry on.
All right, she pissed on your leg.
Sorry,
That's too funny.
she peed on my leg. What do you?
Dude.
What?
Who does that? That's amazing.
I don't know. She got taken away by the security guards, of course, but But it literally reminded me of all the concerts that I would attend when I was a kid.
Oh, for sure.
All that stuff was just all the time. You smell pot,
of course.
people getting in
Fighting,
fights,
yeah.
getting thrown out,
Yeah.
knocked down, drag out fights sometimes, just like tossed,
But that was part of it, man. I mean, everyone's so polite now. It's like you
Well,
almost,
that was part of it, and that's the
Right.
fun. And
right. It's the high
like,
energy.
I always said going to see concerts in Detroit is like going to a war zone. It's like
Yeah.
everyone, any sporting event or concert in Detroit
Right.
would be essentially everyone's drunk.
Right.
Everyone's been drinking. Everyone's getting in fights and arguing matches and shouting at each other.
Right.
And everyone is into the band. And they're just sitting there screaming their heads off and watching this show. Makes for a fantastic show. And I've even gone to shows in recent years in Detroit, and it's still the same way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's a whole different
culture.
thing than Los Angeles.
Oh my God, totally. It's weird, like even trying to find music in LA,
Yeah.
It's obviously there's a strip or whatever, but
Yeah, that's all
it's
cover bands now, tribute bands.
yeah, it seems it's weird, but that's one of the great things about, and I would imagine like Detroit coming here too, it's freaking everywhere, it's just like you're surrounded by it. Obviously the crowds aren't like what you're talking about, but at least there's music being played, or was.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, that guitar brand that I was talking about was Eastwood. So the one you were talking about was Eastman.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I was getting
That's
confused. So yeah.
Mhm.
Eastwood's made in the USA, and those are the ones that
Yeah.
Pete Stroud was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a thing with Jeff Sin here in town, like a local luthier. They did a really cool Eastwood guitar. I don't know what it's called, but it's kind of shaped funky with two humbuckers, and the freaking thing sounded great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Purposeful Porpoise. I missed this. Sorry. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Have you guys seen the
nice.
new Bill and Ted trailer? Party on, dudes, and be excellent to each other.
No way. They're making another Bill and Ted's? I did not know that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the trailer's out.
Yes.
Come on. Is it good? Does it look good?
It looks like Bill and Ted.
Oh, that's
Just
amazing.
older.
So So is it good? Well, it
Right.
depends.
Loaded question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I totally remember that movie. I mean, but they had Nuno and all these good bands in it, though. Wonder what they're going to be playing now.
No idea.
I remember that Play With Me solo when I was a kid. I was just starting to learn guitar when that song came out, and I was just like, what on earth is that guy doing? He was just, Nuno's so freaking good still. But
I think Nuno's amazing. He's so good.
Oh my God, he's terrifying.
They're coming out with a new
album. It doesn't seem like he's lost a beat. Are they really?
That's what I heard.
I liked Extreme. They're great live too, man. Just he does so many cool mixes, so many cool styles, and just the percussiveness. He almost like plays more like a drummer,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the '80s had so many good guitar players.
Awesome. I got a good one here in a comment on what I was just saying. Carlson Depth said, "The Who at the Silverdome. You could feel the incipient violence in the crowd."
I bet.
What year?
Wow.
What year at the Who at the Silverdome? I was my first concert ever was the Who at the Silverdome, 1981.
Hey.
And I hear they also had played in 1976 there, I believe, or 77 or something like that. So, which one?
How old were you?
I was young.
Oh, that's freaking. I mean, the first show is
I'd have to think. I have to think about that for a second.
That's starting at a pretty high level of band for your first show. Man, that's amazing.
Well, 81. So, well, let's see. I'm 51 now. Count back. I don't know.
Yeah.
What was I, like 12 or something?
Yeah.
That's around the time I saw my first show, which I
something like that.
Frank Zappa.
Nice.
It was funny because we had Steve Ferris on the show, and at the time Steve was playing with Eddie Money, and he brought it up that he played the Pontiac Silverdome with Eddie Money,
and that was the show you went to, right?
And I go, I saw you. He's like, no shit.
Isn't that crazy? God, I can't believe how fast it doesn't. I mean, it seems like a long time ago, but not that long ago. You think about like '89. That's a freaking long time ago. It's like,
yeah, this was '81.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I know. Well, you're not much older than me. I'm 45. So
yeah.
But man, it was such a. I'm really glad I got to see all that stuff, though. The level, especially like the showmanship and the. They were all technically very good, but like just to see bands be able to like, David Lee Roth with Steve Vai or something like what they're just freaking, or Van Halen for that matter. Yeah, exactly. Like running around and jumping and just like not even missing a note. And it's just like, I missed seeing that, because they were the whole band. It was like a real show, everything mattered, Yeah. But heavy on the real playing.
Yeah, sure.
Right. But a performance, a real performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other night when we were testing. We were talking about Van Halen, and just Eddie just running around doing splits.
Never forget 1984. The 1984 tour, one of my concerts I saw, opening with Unchained.
Oh my God!
And it was so loud, and it was so great. And you just heard the guitar, just like, you're just like, oh yeah.
His live tone is always. I mean, even in the later days is good, but that old stuff, like what was that show? Were you talking about the show where they redid from Fresno? Was that us?
Yeah, that's 79. I think it was 78, 79 show. That the video.
Is that a really good one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just recently.
Freaking tone was just insane. It's like, how is it? I don't know. And being so young too, you know what I mean? And really having I mean, I guess a lot of people were good young back then, but having just the handle on all that stuff, was just.
Yeah, but by that time he was playing so many clubs and backyard parties, and it was like second nature.
Yeah, I remember. I was a little jealous. My friend Dave Black. He goes, yeah, man. I saw him at Masonic Temple in Detroit, for Van Halen 2. And I was in the front row.
Oh,
I'm like going
on fire.
Oh my God, fuck you. Just fuck you.
That would be amazing.
How good? I'm like, how good was it? He goes, unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine being a headliner, and they open up for you? I mean, it's just like, no, no, thank you.
Well, that's what
I
happened
hear
with
that.
Black Sabbath on the first tour, right? Black
Oh,
Black Sabbath was like getting blown out every night by Van Halen.
how could you not? It'd be like having
I've
ACDC open
seen
up
how
for you.
that can happen too. I've
Yeah.
seen how that can happen. I remember there was a festival. I remember there were in the 90s or early 2000s or something. There's a festival that I went to, and this was like kind of the heyday of the bands like Papa Roach and all
Right.
these era bands, and the last band was Black Sabbath, right? But the band right before Black Sabbath was Marilyn Manson
Oh my
in their
God.
heyday with John
Yeah.
Five and Twiggy and everything in the heyday.
Yeah.
And I watched a ton of bands before, and all these were legitimately large bands, good
Right.
bands. Watched them all. Manson came on, obliterated every band that came on before,
Yeah.
completely wiped them off the map,
Right.
obliterated, and then like poor Black Sabbath has to come on.
Right.
I'm like, it
No,
wasn't.
it's not
It
even
wasn't.
fair. He is a freaking maniac. He is a really, really that whole band. I mean, great performers, man.
Well, especially in that time period and
Yeah.
that time frame of the band. John Five was in the band,
Yeah.
and it still had Twiggy on bass, and they still had their drummer, and they had their
Yeah.
keyboard player. They had the main kind of the original band with John Five, and at that time they were untouchable.
Yeah.
Just crushing.
Yeah. Well, it was so
Crushing.
new too. I mean, just pushing so many boundaries
Oh,
too.
yeah.
They had the
Yeah,
show and
it
the
was,
and the
but they
musicians.
did it well. They did
Yeah.
it on top form. I mean, in later years it was less on top form, but
Yeah.
top form where you, yeah, I feel sorry for all the bands before and all the ones
Oh,
after.
totally. Oh, I can only imagine that that lifespan of an act like that can only be so long too.
Yeah, right.
Rolling out trying to do that when you're 50, would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. So, hey, Brett, tell us about your time with Third Power Amps and working with Fred. How'd that come about?
Third Power.
I mean, sorry, not Third Power.
Divided by 13.
Divided by 13.
Divided by 13. See, that's what happens when I go
So-
on my second beer. Sorry about that.
Exactly. See, it's good. It's only 5 points. So I got my first introduction with Fred, and I totally remember this day vividly. I had these crate vintage club, like 310 combos or something like that. Back in the day, I think they were like vintage club 50s or something. And one of them had broken. And this was when Fred was still down in Balboa in his house. And I remember it was like right as he started, kind of really taking off and doing a lot of repairs. And he was making the amp with Rusty, whatever, the 37 or whatever it was. And I basically rolled in and he was just like, looked at me like when I brought in my crate, it was just like, no, like I'm not even going to touch this. I was like, oh my God. So my first real, interaction with him was weird, and then, a couple of years later, but that was actually the same day he was taking those amps to McCartney's rehearsal, right? So it was kind of that weird, right at the right time, right? He was super stressed out trying to get these amps done for Rusty or whatever. And about a year and a half later, my buddy Scott, who had one of the first Divided by 13 amps, convinced me to go up. He's like, Fred's making something that's like, a Marshall or whatever. And I was like, okay, I'll go check it out. And I think at the time I was doing finished carpentry, and I was just totally freaking over it. And when I was up there, we just kind of hit it off. We had a really good conversation, and I'm like, hey man, would you ever consider? Do you need help? I mean, because he was freaking swamped. I think he had like a 4-month waiting list at that point or whatever. And he was like, oh, okay, and I was like, okay, well, just whenever, if you want to, let me know. And he ended up calling me like 4 months later. And never soldered a freaking thing in my life. I mean, nothing, no electronics at all. And we just started doing like Saturdays, I think, for about a month or two. And he would, okay, here's how you solder a freaking pot to whatever, and here's how you make a board. And it just kind of went I mean, after I started working there a lot, it really freaking went full force. So it was just like diving head first into
Wow.
making a bazillion amps, you know. But I think I did that for like 7 years. It was great, man. I mean, he's like a second dad to me, man. I love Fred. He's awesome.
And he makes great amps too.
Really, it does. I mean, they're so good. You know, the thing is, we go to, you know, I drop amps off to a bunch of producers and stuff, and you just see that real world example of like they actually use it, you know, and they're buying it. They're not getting it for free, and then you hear it in a track, like, hey, check it out. The album's done or whatever. Listen to it. And it's just like, man, you know, it's like being part of something, or you know, Dave, like, you know, seeing an amp you built on a stage in front of 18,000 people is freaking awesome, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Especially when it sounds good.
Right.
But, yeah, it was cool, man. I mean, it set me up for this whole thing that I'm at now. You know, all the little pieces kind of, led to place. My buddy Marty wanted to get one of those amps, and that's kind of how that whole thing happened with him. And, meeting Tim and doing the thing with Tim Pierce. You know, it all started from working at Fred's. It was an amazing time, you know?
So what did you do with Tim Pierce? I'm curious.
So there's a funny story with that. Whenever I would go around town, I would always ask people, at stores, who are your favorite, players around town? And they almost exclusively always said Val McCollum and Tim Pierce. And I was like, who's this Tim Pierce dude? And so I went into work and I asked Fred, I'm like, Fred, who's Tim Pierce? And he's like, oh my God, dude. He's, and he's like, you got to hear him play. And so I went on YouTube, and there was nothing. There was like 5 videos. It was like an exotic, back when the BBE booster came out or whatever. And so we'd started kind of this conversation like, Fred, ask Tim if he'll give me a guitar lesson or something like that. And so after a few months, Tim finally was like, okay, I'll do it. And he was playing a 23, and I had to bring a 23 up there. And usually when I go to Tim's house, he's not there. He's up in his room working or whatever. And that particular day, he was downstairs getting a coffee. And I'm like, man, I looked all over YouTube. Have you ever, thought about doing something on YouTube? And it's like, yeah, actually I have. And I'm like, well, do you like teaching? He's like, yeah, I actually do really, really do like teaching. And so I'm like, well, man, I got a channel, and my buddy Marty has a channel too. Would you ever consider having us come up and film you, And I think that really started into motion, me working with Tim. We made products and all that kind of stuff together. But in the beginning, I would just go up to Tim's house, once a week, for about a year, and just film, and we'd post stuff on YouTube. And that was kind of like we were going to exchange. I was going to get lessons from Tim, and in exchange for going up and filming him, But it's cool. I mean, I never, it's funny to this day, and we've known each other for years now. I've had one guitar lesson with him, but through editing all of the footage, it's so crazy how much you can pick up, just by watching him do what he does. And it's been amazing, man. I mean,
he's so good.
The whole session.
The man with the most fluid licks ever.
I know. And that's the funny thing. Like, once he broke it down slow, I'm like, that's really what you're doing? But the feel is so freaking good, Tim is, I feel fortunate, and Dave, I'm sure you've seen it too. Like, being in the room, seeing him do what he does is just...
Explosion.
Totally. It's just, I wish everybody could see it, I mean, they can now, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember years ago doing work with Tim and seeing just him. I always called it the endless lick.
Yep.
Because you know what I mean. It's like the most fluid, endless. No phrase ends. It just kind of flows all together.
Right. Into another perfect one after that.
Right.
It's like unbelievable.
Yeah, he's great. He's coming on too, by the way.
Is he?
Yeah. Him and Pete are going to be coming on soon.
Oh yeah, that's true. I like their show. They had a great show, man. They worked well off of each other, and it's cool because they both had enough of a background in music and could really talk tone and all that kind of stuff too. It was a good, good mix.
Yeah. By the way, we have a couple of super chats. Robert Price, thank you. He wants to know, Dave, OD channel in the 65 whiskey, is that more JTM 45 or 800?
The power section's more JTM 45. That's a tough one to say. I mean, the power section's more JTM 45. The front end is more. It's not really 800. It's more hopped up, Friedman-esque sort of, slightly different though, kind of thing. So it's not neither.
What amp is it?
The power section is a JTM 45.
It's a 65 amps whiskey.
Yeah. And then the other one, Bulldozer Guitar, said, "Did you design the Synergy Plexi module? And if so, what was the idea behind that sound-wise? As in Plexi setting you were trying to emulate?" Really, yes, I did. The Plexi module, I did. Essentially, that's mostly designed to be a cranked up kind of Van Halen-esque, shall we say, Plexi. If you're looking to get vintage Plexi tones, it might not do it for you. It might not be. It's got definitely. It simulates the cranked up sort of thing. It has some roots in some of the Jose designs too. So there you go. Which actually emulate a cranked up Plexi. So
Right.
Yeah, I've got that module. It's great.
Yeah.
Dave, what's your quintessential amp tone? Like, if you had to pick one, whose tone is it?
Oh, Eddie.
Yeah.
Van Halen 2.
Van Halen 2. Interesting.
Not 1, 2.
Okay. What's the difference? Is it a different amp, or is it just the?
No, it's the same amp.
Different production.
It's a little different production. A tad less gain. A tad less pushed. More natural sounding. I think honestly Van Halen 2 is probably the best representation of his guitar tone. Especially if you think about all the songs and stuff on it.
Yeah.
That's probably the best recorded representation of his guitar tone. Some people might argue and say 1, but
I was thinking Fair Warning, but that's my favorite.
Fair Warning is great also. Yeah. That comes in great also. I like 84 also.
Yeah.
84 is much cleaner.
Right.
I actually like Women and Children First also.
Oh, so good.
I mean, they're just all variations of great.
Yeah.
but I think overall though, if you listen to that Van Halen 2 record, I think the overall everything on that record sounds better. I think the drums overall sound the best of the drums on any Van Halen record. Right. I think everything production wise was really dialed in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, somebody give me a doctor. I mean, it's just like
it's funny if you're in the car and you can go between stuff really quick.
Yeah.
And you can listen. The trouble in the car though is, are you hearing remastered ones? Because there's remastered versions of some of the records.
That are not.
They don't sound good anymore.
They don't.
You have to have the originals. If you bounce between the records, it's interesting. It's just like you're like, oh yeah, okay.
So here's a question for you. Do you know what I always freaking love the chorus sound on was it Women in Love on that album? Do you know what that is?
The original Roland chorus echo. I have one at my shop that Toshi from Kimmel just gave me to check out.
No way.
Yeah, you know Toshi?
Yeah, no, but I mean, just that sound is so freaking good.
Yeah, and it's like this so beautiful analog chorus thing. Yeah. It's a 2 rack space box. That's
really.
It's not even a rack space, to be honest. It's just it looks like a 2 rack space box that you just sit on something.
Huh. Like, and what's it called
again? Plastic and metal and.
What is it called again?
It's an old Roland chorus echo. DC. Someone will probably chime in.
Right.
I could tell you if you text me or something.
Yeah. I freaking. It's so good. It's just like, what is that?
And it really does sound great. It's kind of noisy and kind of all this stuff, but when
that's
you listen,
part of it.
When you listen to it, you're like, ooh, yeah.
It's all so worth it. Oh man.
Yeah.
See, I need to go back and listen to him. I was listening to 1984 earlier, but for some reason I don't think I have 2 on any of my car phone or whatever. But that's a good one. I gotta go back to it because it is some of my favorite
you gotta
stuff.
download that and get that going on.
Oh, dude. I mean, just all the even in You're No Good, when he's like just cranks up the volume. It's like God, it just sounds like it's about to explode, but still clear.
It on that record, it sounds like the amp's gonna explode. Which I really like. I really like. They captured it in such a way where it's just like,
why can't they do that anymore? It's like we had it perfect. It sounded great.
Yeah, we had tape and we had nice consoles and we had real recording gear and all that fun stuff.
People actually played together at the same time.
People played, yes, in the room all together as a band.
Right.
That's another thing that's freaking great about out here, though, is the session guys, they still play together, and it's just like, you hear that in a room, you're just like, oh my God. It's just like the unfortunate part, I was talking to one of my buddies about it, and he's like, the thing that sucks is we create this, amazing pocket, but the younger engineers and mixers of the day, they snap everything to a grid. So it's like, by the time you get done, you don't even realize, is it me anymore? But seeing them lay it down is just like, God. And they're just so, it's like Tim, right? But they're just so quick and so, it's like, how do you think of something that good, that fast at the drop of a hat, Whenever people talk
You ever
about,
watch those you ever watch the Rick Beato videos?
Love Rick. Rick's freaking awesome.
Where it's like, here, let's listen to Quantize John Bonham.
I haven't seen that one. I'll have to check it out.
Oh, yeah, there's one on John Bonham where they actually take the actual drum beat. I can't remember the song, and then they actually quantize it like it would be done today, and then you can listen back to back,
right?
The feel and everything, and it's just like, holy crap!
It just loses all feel once it's quantized.
It loses all of everything.
Yeah. They totally. And they do that with guitar too. They push stuff around. It's like, you guys, like, I understand it, like, to your eyes it may look cool, but that does not mean it's gonna feel that way,
Right.
Oh, and especially like it was the most extreme case doing it with John Bonham,
right? Because
John Bonham, was a living, breathing organism.
It fluctuated.
Drum parts, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So no part of the song ever is repeating itself, really.
Right.
It's not like, hey, verse 1 is like verse 2 in the drum parts.
Yeah.
No, there's tons of accents. There's tons of changing things up. So like I say, it's like a living, breathing organism. It's like he's feeling the music. He's playing drums, just what he feels. And that's just the beauty of the whole thing.
I love the isolated tracks too when you can hear them. It's like, so
my two favorite isolated. My favorite isolated tracks are John Bonham and Jeff Porcaro. Anything from Jeff
I've never heard the
or John Bonham.
Oh, he's great.
Oh my God.
I gotta check
Rosanna.
Oh my! Do they have that
isolated drums?
Yeah, I think there's isolated for that. Yep.
Way.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you that's amazing.
And then Fool in the Rain.
I was fortunate enough to work in the industry in a time when I was delivering gear when Jeff Porcaro was doing sessions with Steve Lukather and everything.
Dude.
So I got to stand in the same room in the studio with Jeff Porcaro. It's just playing drums. I knew him, he'd smoke a joint before every session, out back in the loading dock where we were leaving,
Right.
And like you'd see him. And he'd just sit down to the drums and play. He'd do that shuffle thing, man. And he just went like, oh,
isn't that
God, that's good.
so freaking good.
Amazing
feeling. He was amazing. You guys ever check out the newer guy, but that Aaron Sterling guy? You guys ever watch him, that drummer?
No.
Oh my God. It was an incredible drummer, but very creative, will like do really weird things with tempos and make the drum sound weird, or his Instagram channel, even if you're not a drummer, is totally worth being on. Plus he's so freaking, like, his mind seems like one of those guys who's just super fast, so he's super witty and like will randomly come on and like he talked about this like monologue on Star Wars once, and I was just like, what? But it was so freaking good. Like, I would have never have thought what he is saying, but now I'm hearing it. I'm like, that's right. It's just like,
what's his name? Aaron
amazing.
What?
Sterling, I think is his last name.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, I think he's one of the top, session drummer guys, but just really, really entertaining and just a phenomenal drummer. You hear his parts and it's just like.
Who's one of the guys today also that blows me away is Todd Zukerman.
Who's that?
He plays with Styx.
Oh, okay.
Amazing
drummer.
Yeah, amazing drummer. Amazing.
Yeah.
You know who that is, Dave? Todd Zukerman.
No, I don't. I'll check it out though.
Oh, I'll send you a link to his. Amazing drummer. He plays with Styx. Just great.
Are they still good? Are they good still live?
I saw Styx. I guess now it's probably 2 years ago. They
right.
They were the headliner. It was Def Leppard and Tesla.
No way.
Yeah,
dude.
which was a fun show, but unfortunately, Joe Elliott, he lost his voice that night. So the guy from Tesla came out and was helping him sing Def Leppard songs.
No way.
Which was kind of a bummer.
My God.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer. But then Styx came out and they killed. It was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's good to hear.
Even with the new singer, I was just like Tommy Shaw. These guys, they can still play, man. They're really good,
right.
Really good band. So BMO says, Dave and Mark, can you get? I guess he says EV. I guess he means Eddie Van Halen on Tone Talk. It's not going to happen.
That'd be awesome.
That would be freaking amazing. I'll even go so far as say fucking amazing. But yeah, it's not going to happen.
Do you guys still have that head down at your shop, Dave? Didn't you guys have that old Marshall down there for a while?
No. That was years ago.
God, that's crazy. I mean, did anybody come in and play it and it sounded just right, or is that the essential component is him?
Yeah, no. After I restored it, and there was one or two people that I had actually come and play it.
Right.
That I knew would like just totally.
Right. I mean, that's incredible.
Rush their car over as fast as humanly possible. But literally, someone I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, that's like
rushed over as fast as humanly possible to.
Oh my God, I would be.
Mark would be boarding a plane.
That's what I was saying. If I had known you, then I'd be on a plane. I'd be like, don't give it back yet.
Don't give it back yet. Wait, I'm going to be there in 4 hours.
Right. I'm telling you.
What was wrong with it? Was it just needed to go?
I completely rebuilt it.
No way.
Over the years, it had many things done to it to try to.
Right.
He said it had lost the tone and this and that. So it had various output transformers in it. It's had various. It was rewired with Teflon wire at some point in time. So the goal was to restore it to its former glory. And I had some ideas about this. Yeah. So by that time, it already had like the proper era output transformer in it for that year amp. But they wanted to rewire all the wire in it to the vintage wire.
Okay.
So we actually gutted another plexi of wire in order to rewire it.
Okay.
And so we did that, and then I had some ideas about how it should be biased, going on assumptions from things I'd read and talked about and things that were put in press over the years and different things. And then we had original 6 CA7s, the basic original super lead circuit with a couple little changes.
Right.
And I found out a couple interesting things about the amp when I was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Which we won't talk about.
I was just going to say secrets. Little
well, there was one little thing, but it's just, I mean, basically it's a stock amp.
Yeah.
But when you bias it properly, meaning, he used to say in press that he used to bias it all the way up. Well, what that meant was he was pushing the current of the tubes as hot as they would go. But then he'd be using the amp on a variac, so actually then at that point you're saving the tubes because you're reducing all the voltages and stuff. So the concept was, okay, yeah. So now let's see, if you do that with the stock circuit with these tubes on a stock wall voltage, you get about 80 milliamps or so a tube. Okay. Way too hot.
Right.
But when you drop it on a variac to about 90 volts, you get about 50 milliamps a tube. Okay. Which is perfectly fine for the plate voltage that's in the amp and at that point in time. And part of the key of it all is biasing it properly for the lowered variac setting.
Well, that's what
and it was all an accident for him.
Yeah.
And when you do an amp like that and you reduce it on a variac, but you have the bias at like 50, which is fine with the reduced voltage in the variac, then it starts to get this compression and this gain, and the amp seems gainy and it seems right, and and especially if you're using the original 6 CA7s and all this stuff with the right circuit, bam, there it is.
So
I mean, it's gainy. It's
it totally. I mean, well, Fred turned me on to that same kind of variac that they used back in the day, but I think he was saying something like that too, where they rebiased the head at 80 volts or whatever. But it does, man. I mean, back in the day when I worked at Fred's shop too, they didn't, he was so anti-master volume forever. And so the only way to freaking play one of his amps was to have a variac. But I remember the first time I put the 23 amp on it and, cranked it down to about 70 or 75. It's the same thing, because then you could start really pushing the amp, and it was like, oh my God, this variac,
the monster.
is the secret to everything.
That's part of the secret. There's a lot of other little bits and pieces of it, but it's part of the secret. But Toshi from Jimmy Kimmel has put out a bunch of videos recently about. I did a little rig for him.
Okay.
He had an old 50-watt plexi that I totally Van Halenized, that he uses with a variac into a 100-watt Fryette power station, the new 100-watt version.
Right.
And then a whole pedal board geared around, because he was going to do this Van Halen tribute band called Brown M&M's.
Oh, come on.
So he was doing it with Eric Dover, the singer Eric Dover that used to be in Snake Pit and stuff. Right. And they did and Joe Travers on drums and Sean McNabb on bass. They did one or two shows before all this stuff happened.
Yeah.
And it was epic. But while in lockdown here, he's been going a little insane, delving very deep into learning these parts to the T.
Yeah.
And he's been putting out videos as he's been doing it.
No way.
And you hear the rig that I built for him in the videos, and you just hear it, and you're just like, well, yeah, that's it.
Oh wow, I'm gonna have to hear it.
So is he running into the head? Is he using drive pedals too, or is he just straight into the head?
No drive pedals. It's all the traditional stuff. It's a vintage flanger, vintage Phase 90. He uses a Echoplex pedal, Echoplex pedal in front. He has in the loop of the amp, he's doing some stuff. He's using a Digitech Polera for plate reverb. Not in the loop of the amp, in the loop of the power station.
That's a great freaking verb for a pedal.
It is.
Sounds amazing.
In fact, originally he had like a Hall of Fame reverb, and I'm like, you got to get rid of that, because that's not going to do this right.
No.
The Polera reverb has the right plate, and has the right vibe. So he got that, and he also uses another delay in the loop for long delays if he wants it.
There goes more money. There goes more money. Polera.
Exactly.
Polera for reverb is an unbelievable little tiny pedal you can buy for $100 or whatever.
Cool.
It's Lexicon algorithms, so
that's
why it sounds good. And the plate on it just sounds amazing, especially for that. I compared it actually back to back with, I think on Toshi's rig, with the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, this thing's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
This Hall of Fame. I mean, the Hall of Fame sounded god awful.
Wow.
By comparison.
Well, yeah, and when when you've only heard the Hall of Fame, it sounds decent, right? But that Digitech Verb, man, it really is.
It just the tails, like how it trails off.
The wash, yeah, totally. My buddy uses he uses one of those. He uses Fender Tweed amps, but he has that, and the DoD makes a pedal called the Carcosa Fuzz, and those two things together, just it sounds so freaking. And the DoD Fuzz is like ridiculously cheap.
Yeah, it's good.
If you haven't checked out one of those, it's a great fuzz too.
Yeah,
but
good.
The pairing of them together.
It's a shame because Digitech and DoD were making great stuff.
Totally.
And then a year ago or whatever, they fired the whole team. They were making great products that were successful. Right. They were coming back. They were doing great, successful sales, everything. And we don't need this team in Utah anymore.
Is that not freaking crazy?
Yeah,
marketing.
They fired the whole team, and all the people that were driving the cool products, like they made the Freak Out pedal and the
which was amazing.
I got that. That's great.
And the Ricochet, little whammy and a pedal thing.
They got rid of all those people.
Oh, they got rid of the whole team.
Wow. What about the freaking detune one that you could drop to E flat, stepping on the pedal? Yeah. That thing's freaking amazing.
I mean, they were making a whole ton of really cool stuff. I mean,
they were.
I think some of the pedals are still being made of the old designs, but I mean, all the people that were designing anything new, forget about it. It's over with.
Even their pedals where they were like not so much loopers, but like little, almost band creators in a box.
Oh,
they had a killer freaking drum one, or the Trio was a great pedal.
Yeah, man, all that stuff that they were doing was killer stuff.
It was.
The big corporate giant just goes, oh, it's not profitable enough. Kill it.
Wow, I did not know that.
Shame.
I didn't know that. It's wild.
I mean, that's
the
way it is. Kind of a shame.
The way it is now, which is so weird. I feel bad because they weren't like, for some, with the exclusion of course Boss. So many people are hooked on boutique names and new guys on the street that the Digitech is like a Digitech pedal. That's the association. You know what I mean? You don't assume the Digitech pedal is going to be awesome, even though they've created amazing stuff.
All the newer era Digitech pedals were great.
Yeah, great.
They had a chorus that was really cool.
Their vibe was good too. They had a cool vibe.
The vibe was really Ventura vibe. That was good. The I mean, a couple of the drive things they were doing were great. The reissues of the stuff that they had done in the past were great. What?
Yeah, I know.
Let's just sync the whole thing.
That's crazy.
Companies,
well, it's because Harman owned it, and they had a whole nother division, for this in Utah, where they've been forever. Like DoD Digitech has been in Utah forever. So it's like Harman's looking at that like a big money outlay, for the whole staff and everything. I go, but they're the ones designing all the products.
They're making you the money.
They're making the cool stuff.
Yeah, people don't.
Well, Harman doesn't care because they're a huge corporation that make all sorts of other crap that,
Right. It's a small part of the business.
JBL and all this stuff,
Robert Baker asked, Dave, have you ever done anything with Dan Huff?
Oh, dude.
Yeah, man. I used to deliver his gear. And then in the early days of his band Giant, I did his guitar rack.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
He is so
And then he moved to Nashville, and I've never seen him since. I might have talked to him on the phone once. And then
I don't think he stopped working since he got here.
The funny thing was when they did that little Giant reunion thing like a year ago or something.
Yep.
Well, he wasn't singing. He got another singer to sing. But he was using a Dirty Shirley.
Yep, he was with an M9.
I think it was someone loaned it to him.
Yeah, it was Ryan Warner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that show was great, man. I mean, for just like throwing it together last minute, it was cool seeing him play guitar.
I wish he would have sung.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean,
don't. Maybe he can't sing anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's still active, you know. I mean,
I heard essentially that he hasn't been singing for a million years,
right?
So that's probably really rusty. So,
yeah. Well, especially being in town too. Like, if you don't go out and aren't really good, people just don't want to do it, you know.
Yeah.
But he played.
But it was good,
great, man. Yeah, it sure was, man.
And the singer they got sounded, you know, like pretty much like how he used to sound, so that was good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I asked all the guys in town, I'm like, how does it feel like being on a session and Dan Huff's the producer? Like, who you know could do anything that you could do, you know? And
man, I watched a couple times. I remember watching when I was a kid, delivering his gear. Yeah. And then he would sit down and start interacting with the producer, you know.
Right.
They're hiring him for, so what part do you hear here? I mean, like they're going to put guitar on it. But they're asking him, what do you want to put on it? Like, what are you hearing? And him come up with parts instantaneously.
Like a so
drop of a hat. And you hear him, you're just like going, oh my God, that's perfect for the song.
Yeah.
You know, like just right off the cuff. Boom.
Well, and his transitions between like verses and choruses, he always comes up with the freaking coolest stuff, man. I mean, everyone in town, you know, I mean, they're just like, yeah, you know, he's pretty much still the man, but like, yeah, I guess he's just into the producing role, you know.
Yeah,
he'll do parts if he needs to, but I don't know. That's one of the people I really, really want to meet out here. You know, he's just him, and then there's that guy Tom Bukovac. I don't know if you guys have seen him much. But,
his name it's come up a lot lately.
My God.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he did that, man. Oh, he would be great, and I was so glad he did that because he's such a you know, like you see on his show, he's a good you know, he can captivate the room. You know what I mean? He's really good at talking. Like when you would go into second gear, and you know, he's just really good at talking and telling stories, and you know,
good.
This freaking staggering level of talent. Just like, oh my God, my buddy Ford had him come. We met him at this place called Rumble Seat Music. It's a great little vintage store in town. Yeah. And Ford had it all set up. You know, he's like, okay, I know Tom likes to play this stuff. So, like, he had the pedals out and he had the Polaris, the whole bit set up. And then Tom came in and Ford basically forced him to play guitar. But he played for like 45 minutes. And obviously, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of guitar players, right? But I've never seen anything like that, ever.
Right.
Like, just at the drop of a hat, just completely switching gears, you know, like, and just doing it at such a, you know, pro level, and taking, you could hear it wasn't like something he'd done before. You could hear him, like, you know, he's taking a chance doing it, but it was just like, how do you just like stream this crazy level of talent? And it just didn't stop for like 45 minutes. I mean, he just kept playing and playing and playing. It was just like, oh my God. And he's like, you guys ever do this? And he's like, one really good thing to do is try switching chords as fast as you can. You know, like, so go up at the first fret and try to, you know, from cowboy chords to bar chords to, you know, all sorts of different, you know, diminished chords or whatever. And he goes, try doing this. And then he started doing it. And he was like, bing, bang, 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 bang. I mean, but just like perfectly in tune. You know, you're just like, who can do this? You know, just watching him. I mean, his hands were just like, we were all just sitting there, and everybody at the music store was all just like jaws open. And,
right.
Yeah.
You know, I sort of had that. Well, I've had a few geeky moments like that when you stand in front of like Eddie Van Halen and he's playing,
dude,
it like literally like feet away from you,
right?
And you're just kind of like going,
yeah,
okay, this is weird,
right? But it's like leaves you feeling high, you know? I mean,
yeah,
you're
just like going, oh my God, this is amazing. And then the other time was recently when we did this little, right before when Jake came to approve his amp.
Right.
You know, we did this little Facebook video and crap, you know, where we were drinking though, so it was kind of interesting. But shocking. And I asked him right at the end of this video that we put out. It was a guerrilla video, you know, it's like camera in the room, not the greatest audio, you know, but just capture the moment, you know.
Yeah.
And right at the end, I go, yeah, do me a favor, can you play Bark at the Moon?
Oh, dude.
You know, and he starts, and part of that's in Michael's video, and he starts playing Bark at the Moon, and I'm sitting there like 2 feet away from him, literally sitting right next to me.
Right.
And I'm watching him do all the proper chording and the way he does it.
Yeah, which is so different.
And I'm like, oh my God, it sounds right.
It sounds
like,
right. Exactly.
Anyone else I've ever heard play it, although maybe they're coming close to doing it right, or maybe they're even doing it right, the feel isn't quite the same as the player. You know? And when he's doing it and you're just sitting there watching it, you're going, oh my God, look at that stretch.
Yeah, the stretching and
my God,
and some of the nuances of just the rhythm.
The nuances are lost a little bit, you know, in other people. I'm like, I was totally geeked out there for a second.
Oh,
I was just like,
that's one of my favorite guitar songs ever.
And he, you know, he had also told me that he hadn't really played guitar in 6 months.
Jesus Christ.
But then he just ripped off Bark at the Moon and like no mistakes or nothing, you know.
By the way, we have a super chat from Stuart Rose. This is a question for you, Brett. It says, great show, guys. Brett, how is the EQ and master volume on the Divided by 13 CJ11 versus the JRT 915 for recording at home / club gig levels? I'm feeling the need for tweed, but with some more headroom and fuzz game pedal compatibility.
There is an amp called a Triple C 915, not the JRT, but the CCC 915, and it's actually a fusion of both of those amps. So it's the more of the tone circuit of the CJ, but it has the back end of the 915. And so you can get super cool Fendery tones out of it, but then if you switch it to the EL84 mode, it's a great, you know, I've gigged with a lot of those amps, and that's one of my favorite combos at a gig because it's perfect volume to where you can turn it up, but you're not, you know, competing with the drummer. It's just sitting at that perfect spot. You know, you got about halfway up or whatever. And it just really takes pedals good, and it cuts really well. So even if you're in a band with another guitar player, it's a great amp. I would check that out. The 915's very cool. It's one of my favorite amps ever. But it's just loud. It comes on loud. You know, there's no making it quiet. So it's really dependent on where you play, whereas the Triple C has a master volume on it. So I would definitely check out that one. And it sounds great recording too.
And they're still in production? They're still making that?
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. Yeah, Fred's always busy, so he I mean, yeah, I would that amp for sure. Just having played them all, I mean, it sounds like what he's looking for, you know.
Cool.
But at the drop of a hat, it's super cool for like Petty and, you know, stuff like that too. So I don't know, man. They're great amps. I mean, that's the cool thing. I mean, Dave's amps too, man. I mean, they're just, it's so cool to be able to, especially now that they have good master volumes in them. You know, I mean, all these amps sound so good down low too, which is great. I mean, now that I've got an aux or whatever, you know, you get to hear that back end. But you know, for years and years and years, when I did YouTube stuff, I played with them all like whisper.
You don't have one, levels. You have two aux.
I was going to say, he's got two aux.
I do. Well, you know, okay, here's the story behind the two auxes. When I started interviewing people, you know how guitar players are. Two guitar players get in a room and it just becomes like a volume war. So at this point, and one of the main reasons was Ford Thurston too. We were doing stuff together, and he likes running in stereo, two amps. But it makes it so much more controllable for videos, and everybody can get the tone they want turned up, but then I can kind of be the ringleader and put everybody at the, you know, a good level. Because, you know, with shotgun mics and all that other stuff and like lav mics, by the time the sound editor gets it, they're freaking out because there's too much sound. So the two auxes, they come in very handy for interviews. I'm going to get another one because we're going to start doing bands here, so we can have one for the bass player, but they're I freaking love that thing, man.
Me too.
So I wish they would make a MIDI input so you could switch the presets in the back. You know, like if you had a killer Marshall amp, you know, and you could get the Foreigner and then straight to Drop Dead Leg sound or Hendrix or whatever.
You know, I mean, get a two notes Captor X or whatever, the new one.
Right. Is that, do they kind of put everything in one box too.
Yeah.
It has MIDI.
I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's half the price too.
Why wouldn't they do that? It can't be that hard. But,
and then you can also choose your own IRs too, which are kind of fun
right.
too. You can go
There's
crazy
so many good ones out there too. I love it now that people like sell their packs too. You know.
Yeah.
I
love the aux. I find occasionally there's a weird little top end thing in it that is not like a mic'd up cabinet.
Right. From amp to amp,
and a few people have commented on that, like that I know.
Yeah.
Also, you know, the Sir box, the one with the IRs built in now, the newer one, that's great. Yeah. And
totally.
You know, there's also the Saint Rock one, which is really good from Russia, and that's cheap.
Yeah.
There's lots of options. Totally. But I mean, the effects and stuff in the aux are amazing, you know. So you can, good. You know. Yeah.
Well, people are making foot switches now for them to where you can go in, like a pedal shop in town. They make a switch, three different switches where you can turn on like the compressor or the delay or the reverb, or you can program the buttons together. So it's kind of flexible in that way, right? So you know, I don't play pedals anymore, right? Because I can turn both of these amps up, and I haven't played into a pedal board in forever. Not because I don't like pedals, but I would rather plug straight into an amp. I mean, to me, it sounds as good as it's going to get.
Put a little delay on after.
Totally. And it feels like a studio, right? Because it has that, you know, it's in the proper order or whatever. Yeah. But I love those things, man. And, you know, obviously my family too. I don't get calls from neighbors anymore, and so works out great.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's cool.
But, you know, man, your guys' 212 cab, Dave, that freaking thing, I'm surprised people don't just buy that cabinet. That is one of the best sounding 212 cabinets I've ever heard.
It does sound really good.
It does, man. Freaking. Yeah. And it sounds big even when it's quiet, which was
and you know the funny thing about that cabinet design is the reason it has vintage 30s in it,
right?
Is because it sounds best with vintage 30s in it.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, this sounds crazy, but I mean the cabinet design itself works well with vintage 30s.
Yeah.
I've tried a lot of speakers in it, and it actually works better with vintage 30s.
Yep. You know, Tim says that too, man. He's a huge vintage 30 proponent. And I would have never have thought that. You know, me, I was like, it's got to be greenbacks all the way or it's not going to sound good. But, man, yeah, not so much. This thing freaking's amazing.
Yeah.
And like I said, good low, too. You know, that, you know, a lot of times, you know, you have to get the speakers moving for the cab to sound good. But, man, I don't know. Well done.
Hey, Dan Pfeiffer has a question. He says, what's the Tim Pierce divided by 13 model? Is there a Tim Pierce model?
No, it's the RSA 23.
Oh, okay.
And so it's, but he only uses half of it. So you can get a smaller version of it. That's what this one is. Well, it's a little bit different. This one's called the BTR. So when when Fred was making the 23, it's a great amp. That amp is one of the best heads on the planet. I mean, it has its own sound, right? But it's, you know, you got to get it on like 4 or 5 for the thing to start moving, you know? And it's just too loud, you know? I mean, it's supposed to be 23 watts, but it spikes more like 50, you know? So, I mean, that's a loud amp to have in the room. But this one is cool because it's that same circuit, but it has a little bit more gain on a push-pull, and then it has a master volume too. So if the person wants that kind of a head, the BTR head might be the better route to go because the 23 is just insane in a room. I mean, Tim has his own cabinet.
He's got an ISO box downstairs. Yeah.
Which is insane. Have you guys seen his new speaker booth he built? It's freaking so awesome. It's big. Now you can like really walk in the thing, and so there's a bunch of different cabs in there, and it's freaking amazing.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. There was one other question that I just saw. Oh, Robert Baker had to leave. Take care, Robert. Oh, you know, speaking of Fred, we should get him on the show.
Dude, you totally should. You guys would be awesome together.
That would be great.
Especially with the Van Halen talk.
Yeah.
He tells us because he was in a punk band. He wasn't into. Well, I mean, he liked Van Halen or whatever, but they would play the same kind of venues as a kid. And he said, what did he say to Fred? He's like, man, I wish your band played as good as you dressed. I'm like, wow, that's just, you don't hear that side of Eddie, right? Because he's always smiling, but you see, he tells a bunch of stories like it, but just the biting, sense of humor, But, yeah, he's got a ton of funny stories. All those guys, because they all were playing the LA clubs at that time, So,
yeah,
that's cool.
But,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about getting James Santiago on the show? Ask him in person about the Ox, Dan Pfeiffer says.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's such a freaking good guitar player.
I've known James forever. He's a friend of mine.
Yeah. Ripping player.
Yes. Unbelievable.
So good at getting tones too, man. It's like, oh, so that's how you do it. Did you guys ever watch those Voodoo Lab tone videos he did?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
He did that one he did with the Edge where he's like, okay, the delays and everything are set right, but you have to get this pick that has these little knobs on it, and that's what really does it. And I was like, oh, come on. And he starts playing it, and sure enough, I'm like, son of a bitch, he's right. Like, it was
funny. I was just having this discussion with someone about picks, and I was having it with Toshi, and we were talking about. Oh no, my Japanese distributor. That's who I was having the conversation with. In the old days, Ed used a light pick.
Yep.
A thin pick. Like real thin.
Like Fender thin.
And Fender thin. And when you think about it, so all this makes sense. So he's using 9 gauge strings, but not 9 to 42, 9 to 40 Fender bullets.
I did not know that.
Yes.
All right.
So tuned to E flat.
Right. Butter.
Okay. I think you're going to want a light pick.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to be smacking those strings so hard out of tune, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
And also with a light pick, he would bend the pick, and the way he would hold it, he'd bend it so it stiffens up or not.
Yeah.
With
his 2-finger.
Yeah, he'd bend it. And part of that whole thing is the strings, the drop tuning, how sloppy that is.
Totally.
And the other thing is, generally on the early guitars and stuff, he had small frets.
Right. Which is
which totally makes sense again.
Yeah.
Think about it. Light strings, really light strings, tuned down. You want small frets, so you're going to bend the shit out of tune.
Totally.
If you have 6100s on the guitar, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you're trying not to make it happen, it's going to happen.
You get an E sharp.
Right.
So, all of that makes complete, utter sense to me.
Yeah. Well, and think
it's
about
all scaled. It's all
the
scaled.
swung, like I'm the one and stuff like that. Like it seems like, even doing that kind of really good swung type rhythm, having a pick that gives seems like it would really help,
Absolutely.
Versus always catching that string trying to swing. I mean, to this day, I've only heard maybe 5 people really play that song right. That it's just so good that his feel, back in the isolated tracks, it's weird listening to him sometimes because it's like you hear him by himself and you're like, wait, is he in time? Or just the way they push and pull, and then you hear him with Alex and it's like, oh my God, going back to quantizing everything. I mean, just imagine if they would have done that with them, right?
Oh no.
It's just so much of that push and laying back, some of that Eddie stuff is just so far back. You're like, wow, he is one of the best rhythm guitar players of all time.
No doubt.
Everybody thinks his lead playing is phenomenal and his freaking rhythm playing.
Yeah.
It's just legit.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I think the fact that he had his brother just playing with the drummer, and an amazing drummer at that all the time.
Right.
They're just so locked in with each other. and the way that they had that, and especially that Phil X video. Did you see that Phil X video where he was breaking down "I'm the One"?
Yeah. No.
And he's like,
"That's great."
Oh, it's great. He's like, no one can swing like the king.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true.
It's true.
Man, I wish they made something that could bottle Phil's energy, like like a Monster drink. I mean, that guy is just on. Totally, he's on like 150%, 100% of the time. It's just like, dude, how do you get that much energy? And just rips that guitar. The thing that's so cool too is it's like, just plug straight into the head, and it's like, okay, and then you hear it, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah, he's got.
Well done.
Well done.
Famous, my favorite story is when I first met Phil. He comes into my LA Amp Show room,
right,
at the LA Amp Show, and we had stacks of Friedman across because we made a big impression. We literally had like 6 stacks.
No way.
Oh yeah, the whole wall of the hotel room. It looked so good. It was awesome.
I bet.
It was for fun. It was just like, let's just put stacks across the whole room.
Right.
Why not? And he comes in, plays the amp for the very first time. He's never played one. And the very first thing he did, I've told the story before, but the very first thing he did was turn the gain down to about, 6.
Yeah.
On the BE channel, turn it down to about 6. Right. And he played it, and I go, oh my God, thank you. Yes. You're the first person to not turn it on 10.
That's interesting because I'm the same way, man. My games are right now, they're at, like noon and 1. I mean, because it's
1
just
o'clock.
that
basically
perfect.
The BE, like on your small box, the BE channel.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he would just dig in though and have all the sustain in the world, man.
Yeah, well, and it's super dynamic, at that point too, and you can hear that string. Like that's what I freaking love about it, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good. I saw some. Speaking of that LA Amp Show, I remember some of the first. My buddy's like, "Have you ever seen Doug Rappaport play?" I'm like,
"Oh,
who's Doug Rappaport?"
From our room.
Yeah,
where he's playing Van Halen stuff, right?
Like, exactly. When he's doing oh man, all that it was Van Halen 2 stuff, just ripping it so good.
Ripping it so good.
He has Eddie's vibrato thing, I think, better than anybody. I mean, his vibrato is and the fact he can do it with his first freaking finger just blows my mind. He just gets that, he bends and it's like, it's just like, how the hell?
He's the king of bends.
He is, man.
He can just bend like no tomorrow, man. Doug's the best.
Such a freaking good guitar player, man.
Yeah,
just melt your face off. Like there was something he posted. And I just came up in my YouTube feed, and I'm like, I'll check it out. It was only like a minute. And it was him doing a guitar solo, and I was just like, dude, that's just not even human.
Yeah, he's great. He was doing Rat recently.
Oh, I love those. Warren, like on Wednesdays or something, right?
Yeah, Warren Wednesday, I think, or something.
He's been at our NAMM booth before, and all of a sudden he pulls out, like, he'll start playing, like, Drop Dead Legs or something, right. And all the outro solo note for note, and you're just like going,
I know, just perfectly.
Huh?
Yeah,
it's so good.
That's who the Van Halen tribute bands need to get for Van Halen. I mean, he's like just nails that.
Yeah. Doug, stop it.
I know. It makes everybody look bad. I remember he came into your booth and he had like a broken finger or something. Like I think it was like 2 amps ago, and he still was.
He still killed
ripping.
it.
Yeah, with these 3 fingers, I was just like,
he was just, his hand was just healing, like it was just getting better. And he goes, I don't know, I'm not going to be very good.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah,
so you might seem normal then.
Right.
But he wasn't. He was still wiping.
No, he was still everybody. He had to play with that broken finger on tour.
Dude, I don't even know how.
In Japan, he had to actually play that way. So he had to learn to play around it.
Yeah, who did he tour with? Like he did a blues gig too, right? Or
Johnny Winter, right?
No. In Japan, it
was
you know what? I don't remember the artist.
I remember seeing him like in one of the bands he was in, and I'm like, because he's just such a ripping shredder. But this was more like a blues band. And I was like, what? And you hear him playing, it's like, oh, well, that's perfect for the show, But then you see this other side of him, and you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah. No,
I wish that there were like some good guys around town that would just do a band. Like just make one of those just for fun. I mean, everybody's got a Pro Tools rig now. Like, can we just like a band? Like get the good singer and the good, him play guitar.
Yeah.
Edgar Winter, by the way. Sorry.
He was telling me that would be before, well, obviously before all the COVID thing, because he's up in Portland now.
Yeah.
And he was doing some AC/DC like cover band.
Oh,
for fun, for just sheer fun.
Amazing. Yeah.
Can you imagine? I'd like
talk
to
about
see that.
Fun, dude.
I'd go see that.
And he probably nails that stuff too.
God, you're probably killing it.
Well, and the cool thing about that would be, not many people can play Angus, but they don't get its fire. Like a lot of people just don't. I mean, right? It's hard to cop, but I can imagine Doug
Angus is an amazing guitar player.
So freaking good.
And
the fact that I
remember Pete Thorne had to learn some of it.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's deceivingly hard.
Oh, for sure.
It seems simple until you go to try to play it.
And his feel.
And the feel and the vibe and the way he does it. He goes, it's not so simple. And here's the worst part. He goes, if you have to go play it, you got to play it right.
You do.
Right.
Because otherwise people are just like, he did that like shit.
Yeah.
Right. That's true.
Well, even that, like the solos in Back in Black, like you try to learn those, and that, like you're saying, the notes aren't that difficult, but man, his timing, like you just don't.
Yeah, it's deceivingly hard, as he put it. He goes, oh, it's almost like the Eddie swing thing, but it's a different vibe.
Yeah.
It's like in order to play Eddie, you can play the notes, but you got to play the swing right.
Well, and that greasy feel, like with the vibrato, it's just so loose and like fluid, it's just like that. And I'm the one that is the second guitar solo or something. He does this one run, and at the end, he's just hanging on this note, and it's just like, my God, the fire just in the riff alone, but then to end on just like bam, you just hit it, and it was just what 20 or 22 or whatever the hell old he was,
right?
Crazy,
just owning it. You know?
It's crazy to think the skill that some of these guys possessed at an early age, at a young age.
I was just watching an interview with Neil Sean.
Dude, I was just thinking, that's who I was thinking of in my brain.
15 joining Santana.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely
amazing.
Yeah, man.
My kids are super huge Journey fans, and they'll listen to it. My son, who's like 2.5, he's funny because he tries to mimic Steve Smith, right? He loves drums or whatever. But so we started getting albums for the car, and I got Departure. And I listened to that album, and I'm like, talk about some of the most perfect blues rock guitar playing that's ever been recorded. Like, bluesy but super melodic and still hard rock sounding, and just song after song after song. You're just like, this guy is so freaking good on guitar. I mean, everything, rhythm, but his bending and like, how vocal it is. It just, I don't know. He's one of the only players that's been one of my favorite players ever that I've never seen live. And I hear he's amazing.
Neil's cool. I want to say that a lot of his older playing is better than recent years. Not that he's not a great player still. I just think he does too much.
Right. He's overplaying now.
I mean, like, don't overplay it. Just play those sweet notes that you were known for, man. And that's the key. That's the key of everything, man.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to dog anybody.
Simple is best.
That's when I've seen Lukather play. It's like, it's the same thing for me because his vibrato's so good, and it's like, just hold a note, just do it. It's so good.
Right. That's funny. Hey, I want to give it.
I was at that famous show where Eddie Van Halen, Lukather, and Landau played at the Baked Potato.
Oh, come on, dude.
I wish that was televised.
How was that?
I was sitting there watching it all.
Oh my God.
That was like. I mean, to be honest, Eddie was a little out of his element, but
for sure.
But I mean,
That first 10
I mean, just
minutes.
to say that I was there alone.
Yeah.
I was sitting there in the front row, and I'm like,
oh my God.
I mean, come on, that's amazing.
Yeah. I'd have a boner.
Even without Eddie, Landau and frickin' Lukather, Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw many a early era Landau and Lukather shows at Baked Potato.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just in the heyday.
I was Landau's guitar tech for all of the Burning Water era and Raging Honkies era.
Dude, which is some freaking amazing
I was
stuff.
the guy moving his equipment around and helping him out.
Wow.
No way. What does that guy do now? Is he talking about a guy that like
he's just still doing his thing? He was touring a lot, with his own solo, more jazz oriented kind of stuff than more the rock oriented stuff.
Right. How interesting, man. He's another guy I've never seen. Well, actually, I think I did see him once with James Taylor.
He's incredible.
And it was like at the end of the night, and it's like, okay, you get your solo for the night or whatever, and it's like, who on earth is that? As a kid, I didn't know who it was, but
there's some amazing footage of some old shows that will just blow your mind.
Yeah. Again, so good, so young. I'm just like
so good, so young. I remember.
How?
I remember a couple weird times. I remember because I was. Was around the session scene.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, 18 years old, I was delivering stuff, like delivering Dan Huff and delivering, Steve Lukather and all these people.
Amazing.
Right.
And I remember one time going to the studio. We didn't deliver Mike Landau because we weren't doing it. His brother was doing it. But I remember it was some studio, and I don't know. We delivered the bass player or something. And I remember him being all pissed off because the producer's like, oh, he wants more fucking shit on, huh? And he was stomping on his Bradshaw pedal board every fucking switch on top of every switch.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It might have been like a Boy George session or something.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was something like that. He was just like, oh, I'll give him more shit. Like stomping, all the foot switches on his pedal board.
Oh my God, dude, those racks must have weighed a freaking ton, dude.
Yeah, I remember Lukather's was big. It was like 22 space with an 8-inch power amp in the bottom. I remember a couple times taking it upstairs.
Oh, dude. That is not cool.
Here's the MO for taking racks upstairs at that time. We would do them end over end.
Oh.
We would flip them.
Right?
Up the stairs.
Wow.
It was easier.
Yeah.
It was easier to flip them
than lift it. That's
stairs.
crazy.
But let me tell you.
No pressure.
It took 2 people, and those are fucking heavy. And there was a couple times when it didn't work out so well.
Oh. Well, then it becomes like a slide straight down the stairs.
Oh, yeah, that happened with Peter Frampton's rack.
No way.
Yeah, it went down a flight of stairs and smashed into the wall.
Oh.
It was okay.
It still worked?
Through the wall. Yeah.
It was fine. It was fine, but I think
the wall
was dent in the wall.
Yeah.
I like we literally, the person down below had to jump out of the way.
Oh my God. Thing's probably going 50 miles an hour by the time.
Yeah, we lost. I mean, like if you were taking it down the stairs, you'd put it on a blanket and slide it down, or try to.
Right.
Right.
If it was going up the stairs, generally speaking, you would go end over end.
Oh,
that's scary.
But this is like a 400 pound rack.
Yeah, not to mention there's like 40 grand worth of stuff in it too.
Yeah, luckily we were young.
Right.
Yeah.
We were young and dumb and.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Right.
This is awesome. No, it was not awesome.
Yeah,
I think about that now, and I'm like, my back hurts just thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If
I look at it the wrong way, it's going to throw my back out.
Waterford Giant, thanks, man. Thanks for the super chat. He says, thanks for another great time. Learned a lot from Mr. Papa over the years.
Oh, awesome.
All right. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking it out.
And BMO, thanks for the super chat. Dave, put a YouTube band together.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, right. I'm not doing that.
Do you play with people ever, Dave?
No, but in a recent Pete Thorne video, you caught me playing guitar.
I did.
No way. What were you guys doing?
Oh, it was Pete Thorne's video for this Steve Vai's Jose Marshall that I rebuilt.
Nice.
So there was a little bit of me actually playing. Little cameo.
You should do a video of when you test out amps. I'd like to see how you test out your amps. And
you can't do enough of that stuff, dude. People freaking.
Yeah, I could. Obviously, I mean, I can competently play enough chords to do it.
Yeah, I'd like to see you do that.
It was good, actually. It sounded good. I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
It did.
It didn't sound like an idiot.
Well, and it's cool to see, it's cool to see the person who's creating the thing, being part of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to just see the sign and think, whatever. It's a Friedman amp, yeah, of course. But like when you actually see, people playing it or talking about it, it's cool, man. People.
I had fun today. I finished for a buddy of mine. My buddy had bought this Marshall Origin 20 amp.
Yeah. Is that those little ones?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, those really cheap Origin tube amps. Yeah, they're 20 and a 50 watt they make.
Okay.
And he bought it really cheap, like cheap, like $230 or something. Like he got it from someone.
Right.
And he was coming down. He lives in Vegas, and he was coming down here, and to visit a friend. And he's like, "Yeah, can you do anything with this amp? It doesn't sound very good." I'm like going, "Oh, it's funny you say that. I've been looking at the schematic, wondering if I could do anything with this amp, and I think I can."
Oh, that would be amazing.
So he brings me this $230, Origin 20 that he got incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see what happens. And
that would be so
I
cool.
I modded it, and I'm like, this sounds really good. This worked out great.
That's cool.
I mean, is it just
now everyone knows.
Tone shaping. Yeah, right. Watch your email tomorrow. Just like.
Well, no, I totally changed. I mean, what you have to do it is you're going to lose, because I need the tube stages that are in it.
Yeah.
You're going to lose the effects loop that comes in it.
Oh, okay.
Because I need the actual tubes to do what I do.
Yeah.
But frankly, it came out really good. I was kind of like, I'm like going, can I make this little junky piece of junk amp sound good? That's what I wanted to see. And and sure enough, it worked out great.
That'd be a cool show, man. That'd be an awesome little show. Like have people bring in random amps. Can Dave make this sound?
It worked out quite well. Oh yeah, that's great. Thank you.
That would be but that would be an awesome show. See if you can make
can you
like a gorilla amp sound good, or something.
Yeah, no, please no.
Here's my pig nose. What can you do?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's awesome.
We have a question from Unfucking Believable. Has Dave tried the Lurkst amp? Thoughts? That's the Alex Lyson.
No, but as far as I know, it's a Jubilee. So it's a Jubilee clone. I don't think it's anything more than a Jubilee clone. So if you like a Jubilee, then it's a Jubilee.
What's like a Jubilee associated with? Like whose tone?
Slash.
Oh, okay.
That's the primary tone.
Okay.
Joe Bonham used it a bunch too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
But he uses like 4 things at a time or something, though, right?
Well, he uses all sorts of crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
A Dumble, a Carol Ann, and all kinds of stuff.
Because you can.
Right.
Because you can when you're Joe.
Dave, can you mod a Marshall SV20? Just curious, from a Brachus 1.
I'm pretty sure I can. In fact, the architecture on those amps is more friendly than the Origin, so I would state yes.
Interesting. What's an SV20?
That's the 20 watt version. That's the vintage version, right, Mark? The 4-input SV20.
I'm not
sure. Oh, right.
Well, the Marshall made the mini 20 watt JCM 800, and then they made the mini 20 watt.
Okay, right. The Silver Jubilee
Flexi.
20. Right.
So either one is, I'm sure, totally moddable.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So,
And then
that's something worth thinking about.
Dave, can you mod a PV Rage?
no.
This is great from Deja Blue. Tonight on A&E, The Amp Whisperer, from the creators of The Wife Whisperer. And The Wife Whisperer comes from, that you remember that, Dave, from the Jake?
Oh, I know.
Okay. Okay.
I know. In fact, my turn down this light a little bit. It's a little bit much from the screen. No, in fact, the friend who brought me the Origin 20 was Doug, who was sitting in the back of the video, sitting in the bed.
Oh, that's great.
Hanging out with us, not saying anything.
That's just.
Who later went to dinner with us, which I'm sure was a treat, considering he wasn't drinking. So we were plastered.
And
we had one sober guy coming along for the trip.
Wow, I couldn't imagine what he was seeing.
It would be fucking annoying.
Oh my God.
I feel like I got to get out of here. That's too funny.
No, he wanted to hang. I'm sure it was an interesting viewing pleasure there. Interesting stories, like.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, to hang out with you and Jakey Lee. Sure, of course. Hey, we got a question from
Now,
That's the funny thing. We grew up. Doug and I grew up in Detroit together, so we hung out, in high school and in Detroit and stuff. We had bands and different things, and he was living in Vegas, and it's like, hey, you want to come? You want to come watch Tone Talk live at the hotel room with Jakey Lee?
No way, dude.
And he's like, yeah, get off at 8. I'm like, okay, well, we'll still be doing it. Just come to this hotel room and I'll let you in.
Now, Jake,
he hung out for about half of it, and then went to dinner with us after.
Nice.
Where I handed him my keys and just went, here you go.
Please drive.
You're driving.
Thank you.
That's too funny.
You're sober. You're driving.
We got a good question from Rhett Shull. Hey, Dave.
Rhett.
Hey, Rhett. We're going to get Rhett on the show, too, as well.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, let's definitely get in touch, Rhett. I'll schedule you. The beer's talking. Hey, Dave. Speaking of
mods.
Speaking of mods. Yeah. Go ahead. You read it.
What makes an amp moddable, and how do you decide what needs to be done on the circuit? Well, mostly people ask me to do something that that's in my ballpark, that is sort of sounds that I do. What makes an amp moddable? That's a good question. I do a lot of Marshall-esque sort of amps because the architecture of the circuit is basically the architecture that I need. But there's a lot of things that can be modded or changed. It just depends on what someone's looking for, and they have to talk to me about it. Like, hey, I'm looking to get this out of something, and can you give that to me? And and the answer is, if it's a Mesa Boogie, I can't mod it. So exactly. That just start off with that. It's not gonna do. So yeah, I don't know anything. I've done a lot of stuff over the years, so it just depends. It depends. I've done really simple things where it's just like, can you make my JCM 2000 sound a little bit better? There's a couple little tiny mods that I've done to those over the years that make it sound a little bit better.
Well, I would imagine if it starts getting sound from chips, it makes it. There's a lot less.
Yeah, then you're not gonna. I'm not messing with that really. You know, and I've modified trainers before. I've modified. There's things you can do. A Sovtech amps and things, although they come with their own problems.
Yeah.
Sovtech amp. You look at the potentiometers in a Sovtech amp, they'll break.
No way.
Just looking at it.
They get scared.
So the
don't
MO for a Sovtech amp is the first thing you do is rip all the pots out. They're PC mounted pots. You rip them all out, right. Put real pots in, and wire them right to the PC board pads.
Right.
That's the very first thing you do. And from there, you can do lots of things. I think for Josh from JHS, I did a Dirty Shirley mod on one of his Sovtechs.
No way. How did
it came out great. It sounded killer.
I love that amp.
He has it.
That's a great amp.
Yeah.
Did you tweak the new Shirley, like the twin sister one, like the voicing of it at all? I mean, it sounds, and I don't want this to sound bad because I love the other one too, but it sounds a little more tight, a little tighter, more focused.
Well, it depends on which way the switches were in position.
Yeah.
No, in one mode, it's dead nuts exactly the same.
Okay.
In the other mode, it's tighter and a little brighter.
Oh, it sounded so freaking good. I mean, they both do it.
So you have a choice.
Yeah. Right, because you get two channels of Shirley. I keep telling everybody, like,
2 channels of Shirley, and you can have it exactly. And believe me, like when I do something like this, it's like, okay, I got to make sure it sounds just like the old one.
Right.
So I get, the amp switcher comes out, and it's blind. It's same settings, blind A/Bing.
Wow.
Whereas like, do you hear a difference? No, I don't hear a difference.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sold. No, man. I mean, it's just cool. That amp, man, it's such a good feeling amp. And interestingly enough, like in a YouTube setting, for some reason in a room, it sounds really, really good. This one does too. Yeah. It sounds great. But it's interesting hearing the different how they translate through like a camera microphone or whatever in that space when it's not in the context of a band. That amp really. Especially if you're like a bedroom player guy and you're never going to get out on the stage. That amp is so freaking good because it just, I don't know, man. It feels very dynamic, which, and just the different gain stages are all so good. But I think I'm the middle one that I was, because the thing I really love about your amps too is it seems like almost no matter where you set them, there's still string definition, where a lot of high gain amps, they don't. I don't know. They can't. You don't hear the strings individually.
Right. You don't hear the.
Oh, that's super important to me.
It's so important. I mean, that's.
I literally just you just ring out a chord and let every string, and if it goes cling,
exactly.
You're like, yes.
If it goes Van Halen, you're done.
Yeah, exactly. That's
exactly.
That's
what it's all about.
And also how the kind of percussiveness it has on the low string too. Like if you smack the low string real hard and it gives you a real nice smack to it. It's like that's important too to me.
Yeah, super tight. So the 100-watt is the same plexi circuit on the J-Kit and the BE100 or whatever, the deluxe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, give or take slight differences in just the power sections and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of a interesting question, but sound different wise, what do you think you get versus the 50 in the plexi mode versus the 100? Is it?
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? To be honest, you can make it sound pretty much exactly the same depending on if you twist the knob slightly.
Right.
So, maybe the 50 is a slight bit squishier,
Yeah.
It's a little more stiff. But honestly, I've actually done that where I've A/B'd it with an amp switcher and like listened to the small box plexi versus the Jake plexi, let's say.
Yeah.
And I've actually done it because the concern was I wanted it to be the same. Because he started with the small box 50.
Oh, seriously?
And that when he took a small box 50 on tour, then I made him a small box 100.
Nice.
That was a prototype.
Right.
And then we tweaked from there, and then it became a 2-channel separate channel thing and with his liking, you know.
Was he an 800 guy back in the day?
He used an 800. I was also told in passing that he was using a Jose modded Marshall at one point in time too.
Interesting.
So I don't know what.
Yeah.
I mean, I think on some of the Aussie tours it was an 800.
Right.
Cranked probably.
Right. Because you can.
With with a pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I listened to Bark at the Moon and I'm like, what the hell is that? I mean, that tone is so freaking good. The lead tones too, you know. I mean, and a lot of the stuff on Ultimate Zen too. Just such
and
cool.
the Badlands stuff was all like old 4-input Marshalls.
See, I have to this day never heard Badlands.
Oh, you should go to YouTube.
Dude, you
probably should go check that out a little bit.
Yeah, go to YouTube.
Yeah,
the album's on YouTube.
Yeah, everyone's like, that's the Jake you want to see. And I'm like, really, man? I was pretty sold on the Aussie Jake, but yeah, that's what I've heard.
No, the Badlands stuff is great.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Is it just bluesier version of him, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a blues rock, you know.
Yeah.
More 70s stylings, so to speak. You know, it's a little more.
Well, that was the cool thing about that time too, is the bluesy bands, but like with the really freaking good singers, you know.
Well, that describes Badlands.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, the singer was great. The singer was very good, actually.
Yeah, he was amazing.
That Lynch Mob one too, man. That whoever the first Lynch Mob singer was, I still put on that album. Like, God, that guy can really freaking sing, man.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Davis.
That was a great freaking album.
Davis Phillips. Sorry about that. Hey, Dave, when you said you can mod an SV20, are you aware those are cathode biased? I know you like to push the tubes and don't know if that would matter.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Fine. Can be modded.
And L. Scott Music said the Synergy Dirty Shirley module is pretty killer too. I've got that and I love it. How different would you say that is, Dave, from the Twin Sister? It's two the same channels, right?
It's two of the same channels. Wait, no, it's not. Sorry. One of the channels is slightly cleaner than the other.
On the module?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yep.
What's the deal with the Synergy stuff? Is it plugging into like a power amp kind of a deal?
Yeah, plug-in module deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like I remember, like the old Randalls and the old Egnators that did that. Yeah.
Okay, so
same
you have
idea,
a power
but
amp and
new modern versions of it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And then a diesel one. Come on, that's hilarious.
This one's great too. The VH4 is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. The diesel stuff is. The Synergy stuff is really good. Didn't Jakey Lee boost his 800s with the Furman PQ3 from Stephen Douglas?
I mean, to get that answer out of him is interesting, but I think so.
Interesting.
That at least was the way it appeared at US Festival.
Is that like a parametric EQ or what is that?
Yeah, the Furman PQ3 was an old rack mount parametric EQ that a lot of people in that era used to boost the front end of their amps.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great. I have one.
Nice.
Cool.
I bought one after the fact because I wanted to check it out because I never really used it much when I was a kid, but I wanted to see what it did.
So is it just a boost like you would boost
it's
like a Boss pedal?
Straight up
graphic EQ.
Three band or three or four band parametric EQ. Full on parametric EQ. So it has gain, it has level, it has, and you can boost whatever frequency you want at whatever, it's a full parametric. So
yeah. I wonder if you can make one of those in a pedal. That'd be kind of awesome.
Funny you said that. that might have been the reason I bought the EQ in the first place.
Right, exactly.
Ah.
Yeah, there you go, Dave.
Interesting.
See?
I think that would be great.
Dude, it would be amazing. Let's do it. Go.
Maybe.
When's it coming out?
That's cool.
I don't know how many I'd sell, though.
The other one's been overt sales. You got to get one of these, and that was nice and like, maybe one's coming out. Building anticipation. Very nice.
Well, Well, I mean, it's kind of on the way back burner, but yeah.
Oh man, I bet you people would love that because maybe I'm not correct, but I know Dimebag used to use some kind of parametric EQ with his whole rig too.
Yeah, the PQ3.
Is it the same thing?
Yeah.
Oh, see, you got to do it now.
Yeah.
L Scout Music, Dave. At last NAMM, I asked if the BE side of the BBBE, I guess that's the module, was the same as the BE module. You were about to explain a subtle difference when you were pulled away. Can you explain now?
Oh, it is essentially the same if you have the cathode switch in it set for what would normally be the BE cathode setting for the first stage. If not, which is probably not the ideal choice for the BB stage. So generally we were setting them in the kind of the middle of, there's three settings basically. There's a cathode switch in there that basically sets up the tube, the very first tube stage, and how it's sort of voiced. One is more of a Fendery voicing one. One is more of the Soldano era one, which is sort of in between, and one is sort of the Marshall era one. The Soldano one isn't far different from the Marshall one. So we set it kind of in between, so the channels are kind of good both ways. So essentially, all it's doing is it's changing sort of the low end resonance sort of that stage and the gain of that stage. So if you set it on the Fender one, it's just going to be fatter. If you set it on the Soldano one, it's somewhere in between. If you set it on the Marshall one, it's kind of leaner and more mid-rangey.
Less bass.
So which there's got to be a compromise between each of the channels, so to speak.
Gotcha.
So there you go. Sorry I didn't complete the explanation at NAMM, but NAMM is very...
Oh, my God.
It's
hard to... I have a hard time. I'm pulled in so many directions that often I have a very hard time focusing on one person.
Totally.
Like, I will be, like, talking to someone, and then I'll hear a conversation that someone's having next to me, and I'm like, well, wait, he's telling him the wrong thing. So then I want to butt in and tell that thing, but then I get distracted from the conversation I'm having.
Right.
So I'm a little bit scattered, to be honest, at NAMM.
How could you?
Well, we're not going to NAMM this year, people. So,
which is crazy to think.
I don't even know if NAMM's going to happen this year, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I mean, the one year's canceled for the summer.
I mean, I mean, we were discussing it, and we're like, we don't want to go, do we?
Yeah.
Like, hell no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to begin with, AM's an incubator.
It's an incubating cesspool to begin with for viruses. And right now, oh, hell.
Yeah. Oh, dude. They just have to set up tents
for
people right outside.
And then would you really want to wear a mask all day, every day? Because that's how it would have to be.
No.
And you know, and then you wouldn't be shaking anyone's hands. You wouldn't be talking. No.
It would just not be NAMM.
No.
We're choosing to bow out this year.
Yeah.
So you heard it here first.
Virtual NAMM. Plug up the 3 stacks in your room.
Sweetwater is doing virtual Gear Fest.
I saw
that. Are
they
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man! All you need to do is get like Doug and a couple other cats down to the shop.
Well, honestly,
go through one head at a time.
Actually, we were thinking that. To be honest, we were thinking doing videos, in depth for new products. We were going to do in-depth product videos that show the new products and send them to all our dealers.
Right.
And send the videos out, put them up on YouTube, do everything.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I mean, because let's be frank here, our buyers, our dealers come in, they look at the new gear, and they maybe hear someone playing through it briefly.
Yeah.
And they don't play through it.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, yeah, I'll take X number of units, or I'll take those, I'll take those, I'll buy that, and I'll buy that, and they look at the guitars. So if you do that virtually, you could do the same thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And actually in a better format with people actually hearing it better. I know it sucks for the end users that love to go to NAMM and everything. I like to go to too. But man, is NAMM going to happen?
Yeah.
It won't.
I don't think so, at least for a year or two.
I agree with you. It's going to be different. That's for sure when it comes back.
I mean, maybe NAMM will happen again once there's, a vaccine or something, or,
this dies down. It goes away.
Or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Eventually it'll go away, one way or the other. S. Hodges 71. Dave, my understanding is that the JJ Jr. isn't hand-wired. That is true. If so, could you give me the reason behind that decision? Thanks, guys. Love the show. Thank you.
Well, I mean, hand-wired PC board doesn't make any difference, first off. Second off, I mean, the JJ started with the Runt 20 board. So we had a Runt 20 amp, and we're like, hey, let's modify this to be a JJ. So we made a lot of modifications, and we made changes, and that's just the way that we did it. I mean, there's no difference between hand-wired and PC board. In fact, in a lot of respects, a PC board is more consistent than a hand-wired amp.
True.
With less errors.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
and doesn't cost as much.
And well, that's one also. So if to be honest, that amp would be $300 more or something if it was hand wired.
Yep.
So
which that freaking amp sounds
amazing.
So that it does. Like I heard it and I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
And we've A-B'd it. We A-B'd it in the rack with the amp switcher right to the 100-watt version, and it stood its own.
Mm-hmm.
It
Very
totally
close.
does.
So
Very close.
I mean, it's not,
Well, and the one guy who does all the really good demos too, I'm blanking on his name, but when he started going through like the Alice in Chains ones too, I was like, dude, that thing's just freaking dead ringers that just, I really like the earliest Alice in Chains album tones, and it does that kind of cool thing too, man. What was that? Do you know what that was, Dave, back in the day? Like that first era of Alice in Chains?
Well, there was a Bogner modified Marshall called the Snorkeler.
Interesting.
That was used. Now I don't know if that was Dave Jordan's or if it was Jerry's at the time. I don't really remember.
Some of those tones, like the Man in the Box solo tone with the neck pickup, just sounds so freaking good.
Oh yeah.
Like, huh? That's. I can like this band. They're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no doubt. They're awesome. So I think we've gone through most of the questions. One question from L. Scott Music. He wants to know, how do I know which is which on those cathode switches for the BBBE?
It should say in the manual.
Okay. Yeah, look it up in the manual. It's online. I know that.
Or maybe online. Yeah, I don't know.
Just guess.
Good question.
Like.
I would. You know what? If I had to set them right now, I'd have to look it up too. I think if I recall, the middle one might be the Soldano one, which is what I don't know. You just play with it and see which one you like the best. How's that? There's no wrong. There's no wrong setting. It's just whatever you like.
Yeah.
So listen to each setting on clean and dirty and see which you like the best. There's nothing wrong.
Right.
It's all good. Fine.
Cool. Someone said, don't forget the Jubilee question. Purposeful Porpoise. What did I miss? Purposeful Porpoise. Because we're going to wrap up soon.
Here it is. What about the Jubilee that makes it sound darker, lusher than an 800 or Super Lead? Is the clipping LEDs? It's a totally different circuit. How's that? I mean, it's not necessarily just the LEDs. It's a completely different circuit. That's what makes it sound different. I mean, So there you go.
There you go. Cool. So I think we're going to wrap up. We've been on here for a while. Brett, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's great to getting to know you.
Guys, man, thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah. Thanks, BV, for hooking us up. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, it was awesome to have you on. Yeah, you guys, make sure you check out Brett Papa's YouTube channel. And Brett, if you want to say where else people can reach you, or if there's anything else.
Yeah, I have my own website, just is brettpapa.com. And it's like more the YouTube stuff is just a lot of it's the interviews, but if you like the kind of instruction that's on the channel, it's just that kind of stuff, more in depth, different courses and stuff like that. So
no, you're a fantastic.
That's the main website.
You're a great player and great instructor too. So people should definitely check it out and check out your lessons and stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And so just a couple other things, wrap things up. Our next guest is Bill Kelleher on June 26th from Mastodon. Looking forward to that. And then July 10th, we got Jordan Ziff from Rat.
Nice.
And then July 24th, we got Tim Pierce and Pete Thorne coming on.
Oh, that'll be a great one.
So we got a great...
That Mastodon head, by the way. Holy crap.
Oh, cool.
It's so good.
That is.
I remember hearing Rob's like, you got to hear the Mastodon amp. I'm like, okay. And he turned on, I was just like, wow. Like the level of just freaking thump that thing has is insane. It was a great one.
Yeah.
That's a killer amp.
Yeah.
Also, make sure you guys check out Sweetwater, Deja Blue. Check out sweetwater.com. I'm going to put a link in the bottom there. If you guys click on that link and purchase something from Sweetwater using that link, it kind of supports our channel, so we appreciate that. And we will check you out in a couple weeks. So have a great weekend. Brett, just hang on for a second while I hang up.
Okay.
And
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.